Hello guys, welcome to Pika Fiction. So in this video, we will see what if Ash saved the Alola region and Lillie, Mallow, and Lana all proposed to him at once. If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to show us some love by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's start the story. The Alolan Ascendancy Chapter 1, The Golden Hour. The roar of Mallow Stadium wasn't a sound anymore, it was a physical pressure, a vibration that rattled the marrow of Ash Ketchum's bones. Dust, thick with the acrid scent of ozone and crushed masonry, hung suspended in the late afternoon light. The Golden Hour lived up to its name, casting long, bruised shadows across the shattered battlefield. In the center of the cratered arena, the residual heat of a Z-move that had split the sky was still rising in shimmering waves. Ash didn't raise his arms in victory. He didn't jump. He didn't turn his hat backward. He simply exhaled, a long, shuddering breath that expelled the last of the adrenaline holding his body together. Pika. The weight on his shoulder shifted. Pikachu, his fur singed and matted with grime, nuzzled against Ash's neck. The electric mouse was trembling, not from fear, but from the sheer caloric deficit of the battle they had just survived. "I know, buddy," Ash rasped. His throat tasted like copper. "It's over." He looked down at his hands. His knuckles were white, his gloves torn, revealing fresh scrapes that were already beginning to bruise. Across the arena, the Ultra Beast, a monstrosity of refracted light and obsidian armor that had sought to consume the region's light, was fading, its form unraveling into harmless particles of energy as it was pulled back into the Ultra Wormhole by the Ether Foundation's containment unit. The invasion was halted. The sun was still shining. The screaming of the crowd finally pierced the ringing in his ears. It was a chaotic mix of terror turning into jubilation. Thousands of people, realizing they weren't going to die today. Ash. The voice was distant, filtered through the haze of his exhaustion. He turned, his boots crunching on the glass-strewn ground. Professor Kukui was sprinting toward him, leaping over a fissure in the earth. Behind him, the kahunas were mobilizing, shouting orders to containment teams. But Ash's eyes drifted past them, locking onto the three figures pushing through the security cordon. Lillie. Mallow. Lana. They looked like they had been through a war zone because they had. Lillie's pristine white dress was stained with soot and torn at the hem. Mallow's hair was wild, leaves and twigs caught in the green curls, her apron missing entirely. Lana. Lana was limping slightly, her usually calm blue eyes wide and frantic, scanning him for injuries. They weren't cheering. They were terrified. Ash tried to smile, to give them the trademark grin that usually put everyone at ease, but his knees betrayed him. The world tilted on its axis. The ground rushed up to meet him. He didn't hit the floor. Strong arms caught him, Kukui. "I've got you, Ash. I've got you." The professor's voice was tight, lacking its usual bravado. "Medical. We need a medic here." "I'm fine," Ash mumbled, instinctively trying to push himself upright, his combat instinct still flaring. Check the perimeter. There could be more." "There are no more," Kukui said firmly, hoisting Ash's arm over his shoulder. "You saved them, Ash. You saved everyone. Now, for the love of Arceus, let us save you." Ash blinked, his vision clearing enough to see the girls reach him. They didn't crowd him, but the intensity of their presence hit him harder than a hyper beam. Lillie reached out, her fingers hovering over a nasty cut on his cheek before pulling back, as if afraid he might shatter. "Ash. We need to get him underground," Lana said, her voice unusually sharp, cutting through the noise. She was already scanning the upper stands, her eyes narrowing. Too many eyes. Too many cameras. He's a sitting duck out here. "Lana's right," Mallow added, stepping in to support Ash's other side, her shoulder pressing firmly against his ribs. She smelled of crushed apricorns and sweat. "The locker rooms in the B block are reinforced. We go there." Now. Kukui looked at the girls, surprised by their command, then nodded. Let's move. The B-block locker room was a bunker of concrete and steel, designed to withstand the accidental tantrums of Tyrannotars. It was cool, quiet, and mercifully dim. The roar of the crowd was muffled here, reduced to a distant, rhythmic thrumming. Kukui had left them to secure the door and hold off the press, leaving Ash sitting on a metal bench, stripped of his torn jacket. His t-shirt was soaked through, clinging to his lean, scarred frame. Pikachu had curled up on a pile of towels, fast asleep the moment he felt safe. Ash hissed as Lillie dabbed an antiseptic pad against his shoulder. Sorry, she whispered, her hands trembling slightly. It's deep. It's fine, Lillie. I've had worse. That's not a comfort, Ash, Mallow said from across the room. She was rummaging through a first aid kit, her movements jerky and aggressive. She ripped open a package of bandages with her teeth. That's actually the problem. Ash looked up, wincing as the antiseptic stung. What is? That you've had worse, Mallow said, walking over and kneeling in front of him to check his leg. You just fought a god-eater, Ash. You threw yourself in front of a solar beam meant for the stands. You don't fight like a trainer. You fight like you're expendable. The silence that followed was heavy. The air in the room felt pressurized, and it wasn't just the ventilation system. Ash looked at them. Really looked at them. Over the last year, they had ceased to be just classmates. They were comrades. He had seen Lillie overcome the trauma of her mother and Nihilego. He had watched Mallow juggle the responsibilities of her family restaurant and her prowess as a grass-type master. He had seen Lana evolve from a shy girl into a force of nature that could calm the raging seas. But right now, they looked at him with an expression he couldn't quite decipher. It wasn't just concern. It was a desperate, hungry sort of resolve. I did what I had to do, Ash said quietly. If I hadn't stepped in, Manalo Stadium would be a crater. And if you had died? Lana asked. She was leaning against the lockers, arms crossed. Her water-type Z-crystal glowed faintly on her wrist. She pushed off the wall and walked toward him, stopping only inches away. What then, Ash? Do we just go back to school on Monday? Ash frowned, confused by the aggression. I didn't die. We won. You're leaving, Lillie stated. It wasn't a question. She stopped cleaning his wound and held his gaze, her green eyes piercing. The league is over. The crisis is averted. You're going to pack your bag, put Pikachu on your shoulder, and walk away. To Galar. Or Paldea. It doesn't matter where. Ash opened his mouth to defend himself, but the words died in his throat. She was right. That was the pattern. That was always the pattern. Win or lose, save the world, move on. The horizon was his only permanent address. Ash started, looking down at his boots. There's always another journey. That's how I get stronger. Why? Mallow asked the question, her voice cracking. She placed a hand on his knee, grounding him. Why do you have to do it alone? Why does being the strongest mean being lonely? I'm not lonely, Ash said automatically. I have my Pokémon. I have friends all over the world. Friends you leave behind, Lana corrected softly. She sat down next to him on the bench, sandwiching him between her and Mallow, with Lillie standing directly in front. The formation was tight, intentional. Ash felt a sudden spike in his heart rate that had nothing to do with combat. The atmosphere had shifted. The battlefield tension was gone, replaced by something far more volatile. We talked, Lillie said, her voice gaining strength. She straightened her posture, channeling the same regal elegance her mother possessed, but tempered with a warmth that was entirely her own. While you were up there, fighting something that defied physics, we talked. About what? Ash asked, his eyes darting between them. About time, Mallow said. About how short it is. About how terrifying it was to watch you almost vanish. About you, Lana finished. Ash swallowed. He was good at reading opponents. He could predict a Machamp's punch or a Charizard's flight path before they happened. But this? This was uncharted territory. Ash, Lillie began, taking a breath that seemed to shake her entire frame. She reached out and took his left hand in hers. Her skin was cool, soft against his calloused palm. We don't want you to leave. Not again. But we know we can't ask you to stay still. You're like the wind, if we try to trap you, you'll just fade away. So, Mallow said, taking his right hand. Her grip was firm, warm, and earthy. We aren't asking you to stop. We're asking to go with you. Not as classmates, Lana said, her voice dropping to a whisper that echoed loudly in the concrete room. She didn't take a hand, instead, she placed her palm gently over his heart. Not just as travel companions. Ash froze. He could feel the heat of Lana's hand through his damp shirt. He looked at Lillie, then Mallow, then Lana. There was no jealousy between them. No competition. They were a united front, a triad of resolve that surrounded him completely. We love you, Ash, Lillie said. The words hung in the air, absolute and terrifying. Ash blinked. You, all of you. It's unconventional, Mallow admitted, a nervous flush rising on her cheeks, though her gaze didn't waver. And maybe a little crazy. But looking at you up there today, I realized I couldn't choose between being your friend and wanting to hold you. And I realized I wasn't the only one. We fit, Lana said simply. Water, grass, ice. We balance. And you're the fire that brings us together. The spark. Lillie squeezed his hand. We want to marry you, Ash. The world stopped. The silence in the locker room was absolute. Even the distant cheering seemed to vanish. Ash sat there, stunned. His mind, usually a chaotic storm of strategies and instincts, went blank. Marriage? He was Ash Ketchum. He slept in tents. He ate berries off bushes. He threw himself at legendary Pokémon. He didn't do domestic. He didn't do settled. But as he looked at them, he didn't see a cage. He saw Lillie, who had learned to touch Pokémon because he believed in her. He saw Mallow, who had found the courage to speak to her deceased mother because he helped her find the way. He saw Lana, who had dived into the ocean's abyss because he showed her bravery. They weren't asking him to settle down. They were asking to join the vanguard. Ash started, his voice rough. I don't know how to be a husband. I don't know how to be that. We don't need you to be a traditional husband, Lana said, a small, fierce smile tugging at her lips. We need a partner. Someone who can keep up. We want the adventure, Lillie said. We want the danger, the joy, the camping under the stars. We just want to do it with you. As yours. Ash felt a warmth spreading through his chest, a sensation distinct from the rush of battle. It was grounding. It was, right. He looked at the empty space on his finger. He looked at the scars on his arms. He looked at the three women who knew him better than he knew himself. You guys represent a lot of trouble, Ash whispered, a slow grin finally breaking through his exhaustion. We know, Mallow laughed, a watery sound. So. What do you say, champion? Ash opened his mouth to answer. He was going to say yes. He realized, with a sudden clarity that shocked him, that he didn't want to walk away from this. He wanted to wake up tomorrow and see them. He wanted to fight beside them. I say, click. The sound was microscopic. A tiny relay tripping. But to Ash, who had spent years honing his aura to sense the intent of Pokémon and humans alike, it screamed like a siren. Killing intent. Pure, cold, mathematical malice. It wasn't coming from the door. It was coming from the ventilation grate high on the wall behind Lillie. Down. Ash didn't think. He didn't explain. He exploded into motion. He ripped his hands free from Lillie and Mallow, grabbing them by the waists and tackling them to the concrete floor. At the same moment, he kicked out with his leg, sweeping Lana's feet out from under her, sending her crashing down beside them. Thwip. A beam of condensed water, pressurized to the point where it could cut through diamond, sliced through the air where Ash's head had been a millisecond before. It struck the metal locker behind them. The steel didn't dent, it sheared cleanly in half, the top portion sliding off with a screech of metal on metal. Pika. Pikachu woke instantly, his cheeks sparking with electricity, his ears twitching toward the vent. Don't move. Ash roared, covering the girls with his body. The locker room, once a sanctuary, was now a kill box. Intelion, Ash growled, his eyes scanning the room, analyzing the trajectory. Snipe shot. Suppressed. What? Lillie gasped, her face pressed against the cold concrete. Ash, what is? Someone's trying to kill us, Ash said, his voice dropping into the flat, command tone he used in the heat of a league battle. Not capture. Kill. Another shot hissed through the air, this time from the opposite vent. It carved a trench into the floor inches from Mallow's arm. They're triangulating, Ash realized. 2 shooters. Maybe 3. He looked at the girls. The softness of the proposal moment was gone, incinerated by the reality of violence. But they weren't screaming. They were terrified, yes, but they were listening. Lana, Ash barked. I need a smokescreen. Can you create steam? Lana nodded, her eyes hard. She reached for a poke ball on her belt. Primarina. Sparkling aria. Make it hot. She threw the ball from her prone position. Primarina materialized in a flash of light. Understanding the urgency in her trainer's aura, the sea lion Pokemon didn't sing a melody, she unleashed a burst of bubbles that exploded on contact with the air, but Lana channeled her Z-energy, not a full move, but a flare of power. The bubbles boiled instantly, filling the small room with a dense, opaque white fog. Move! Ash ordered. He grabbed Pikachu and hauled Lillie up. Mallow, keep low. Lana, cover the rear. We need to get to the maintenance tunnels. The door? Mallow asked, coughing in the steam. Trapped, Ash said. If they have snipers in the vents, they have a breach team at the door. If we open it, we're dead. He guided them blindly through the fog, relying on his aura to sense the layout of the room. He moved to the back wall, where a heavy grate covered the drainage pipes. Pikachu, Iron Tail. Cut it. Chopika. The steel grate clattered to the floor, sliced cleanly. In, Ash commanded. Lillie went first, then Mallow. Lana paused, looking back into the fog. Primarina, return. As the red beam recalled her Pokemon, a third shot rang out. It punched through the steam, grazing Ash's arm, the same arm that had just been bandaged. Ash grunted, stumbling forward, but he shoved Lana into the tunnel and dove in after her. The tunnel was cramped, smelling of mildew and old water. It was dark, illuminated only by the sparks falling from Pikachu's cheeks. Ash, you're bleeding again, Lillie's voice trembled from ahead. Keep moving, Ash said, his voice tight with pain. They have thermal optics. The steam won't hide us for long. Who are they? Mallow asked, her voice echoing in the pipe. Team Rocket? Skull. No, Ash said, grimacing as he crawled. The precision of those shots, the lack of monologuing, the tech. Team Rocket wants Pikachu. These guys, they aimed for my head. They crawled for what felt like miles, though it was likely only a few hundred meters. The sounds of the stadium celebration above were gone, replaced by the dripping of water and their own ragged breathing. Ash's mind was racing. The proposal. The ambush. The two events were colliding in his brain, creating a dissonance that made him dizzy. They want to marry me. Someone wants to execute me. He had to get them safe. He couldn't let them be collateral damage for whatever target was painted on his back. Stop, Ash whispered. He sensed it before he saw it. A fluctuation in the air pressure ahead. Back up, Ash hissed. Now. He scrambled backward, shoving Lana. Boom. The tunnel wall ahead of them imploded. Debris rained down, blocking the path they were heading toward. Through the hole in the concrete, a figure stepped into the tunnel light. It wasn't a person. It was a suit of matte black armor, sleek and faceless, glowing with faint purple veins of light. The crest on the chest was a jagged piece of obsidian. Target confirmed, a synthesized voice spoke from the suit. Ash Ketchum. Designation, Calamity Class. Status, non-compliant. The figure raised a gauntlet. The air around it warped, charging with dark energy. Dark pulse technology, Ash muttered. Who are you people? We are the Obsidian Directorate, the figure intoned. We are the silence that follows the god. The gauntlet flared. Pikachu, Thunderbolt. Full power. Pikachu didn't hold back. In the confined space, the electric discharge was blinding. It slammed into the armored figure, arcing against a shield that shimmered into existence. The figure didn't budge. Anti-energy shielding, Lana noted, her tactical mind engaging. Electricity won't work. Physical then, Mallow shouted. She released her Tsarina. Tro kick. Knock his head off. Tsarina materialized, spinning in the cramped space, her leg glowing with grass energy. She struck the figure's helmet with the force of a falling tree. The figure staggered back, the shield flickering. Now! Ash yelled. Lillie, use the opening. Lillie, who had released Snowy, Alolan Vulpix, pointed forward. Powder snow. Freeze the joints. Snowy unleashed a breath of sub-zero air. It coated the armored figure's legs in thick ice, seizing the mechanical servos. The figure groaned, the armor locking up. Go. 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 Ash pushed them past the frozen enemy. They scrambled out of the breach, tumbling onto a maintenance catwalk suspended over a massive underground water reservoir. They were deep beneath the island now. Ash stood up, swaying. The blood loss was getting to him. Ash. The girls surrounded him again. We can't stop, Ash gasped. He looked at them. Their dresses were ruined. Their faces were smeared with grime. They looked terrified. And yet, they hadn't run away. They had fought. The proposal, Ash wheezed, a hysterical laugh bubbling up in his chest. You guys sure know how to pick a moment. Lillie grabbed his shirt, pulling him close. Her eyes were fierce. Consider this our first date, Ash Ketchum. Survive it. Ash looked at the three of them. The Obsidian Directorate was hunting him. The world he had just saved was trying to kill him. He was bleeding, tired, and cornered. But looking at the fire in their eyes, Ash felt a surge of power that had nothing to do with aura or Z moves. He grinned. It was a sharp, dangerous grin. All right, Ash said, straightening up and recalling the feeling of the battle just won. He turned to face the dark tunnel behind them, where more red lights were beginning to appear in the shadows. If they want a war, let's give them one. He looked back at his three partners. And for the record, Ash said, electricity sparking around him as Pikachu leaped to his shoulder. The answer is yes. Chapter 1 End. The Alolan Ascendancy Chapter 2, The Shackle Protocol. The service hatch groaned in protest, rusted hinges shrieking against the salt air, before Ash kicked it open. He spilled out onto the wet asphalt of a back alley in Hawali City, his lungs burning for oxygen that didn't smell like sewage and ozone. He rolled instantly to his feet, ignoring the scream of protest from his bandaged leg, and scanned the rooftops. "Clear," he hissed, reaching back to help Lillie up. She emerged, her white dress now a ruin of gray stains and torn fabric, but her grip on his hand was iron-tight. Mallow and Lana followed, coughing, their Pokémon returning to their balls to minimize their thermal signature. The city was wrong. Usually, Hawali at night was a carnival of light and sound, tourists laughing, neon signs buzzing, the distant rhythm of hula drums. Now, it was a tomb. The streets were empty. The streetlights had been dimmed to a low, oppressive amber. Above them, the sky wasn't filled with stars, but with the silent, prowling shapes of drones. "Where is everyone?" Mallow whispered, pressing her back against the brick wall of a closed malasada shop. She wiped grime from her cheek, her eyes darting nervously toward the main road. "Curfew," Lana murmured, her voice stripped of its usual airy quality. She pointed to a massive holographic billboard dominating the skyline above the shopping district. Ash followed her finger and felt his blood run cold. The screen, usually reserved for Pokémon League highlights, displayed a rotating 3D model of him. But it wasn't the Ash Ketchum who had just saved the region. It was a distorted image, red warning text flashing over his face. "Alert, biological hazard. Subject, Ash Ketchum. Status, fugitive. Infected with ultra energy. Directive, do not approach. Report sightings to Obsidian Security." "Infected?" Lillie breathed, reading the scrolling text. "They're saying you're contagious." "It's smart," Ash said, his voice low and hard. He watched a patrol of black-armored soldiers march past the alley mouth, their boots locking in perfect unison. "If they call me a criminal, people might defend me. If they call me a plague, people will fear me. They're isolating us." "They're isolating you," Lana corrected. She looked at Ash, her blue eyes dark. "They didn't put our faces up there. They want me to run," Ash realized. "They want me to leave you behind so I don't infect you." He looked at the three of them. In the dim amber light, they looked exhausted. Lillie was shivering, the adrenaline crash setting in. Mallow was nursing a bruised wrist. Lana was leaning heavily against a dumpster. He had dragged them into a war. He had said yes to a life together, and 10 minutes later, they were fugitives in their own home. "You should go," Ash said. The words tasted like ash in his mouth. "Go to the police. Tell them I kidnapped you. Tell them you escaped. You'll be safe." Mallow didn't hesitate. She stepped forward and shoved him. It wasn't a playful shove. It was a two-handed impact against his chest that knocked him back a step. "Don't you dare," she hissed, her voice trembling with fury. "Don't you dare try to be the noble martyr right now, Ash Ketchum. We just proposed to you. You said yes. That means, in sickness and in health, remember? This isn't sickness, Mallow. It's a death squad. Then we fight the death squad." Lillie stepped in, flanking Mallow. Her shivering had stopped. "Do you think we're weak? Do you think we're just accessories to your journey? I think you're targets because of me." "We're targets because we chose you," Lana said quietly, stepping between Ash and the alley entrance, effectively blocking his exit. "And we'd choose you again. So stop trying to save us from our own decisions and start leading us." Ash stared at them. The wind coming off the ocean ruffled his hair, carrying the scent of salt and impending rain. He saw the resolve in their faces, the same resolve he saw in Charizard before a flamethrower, in Greninja before a cut. They weren't civilians. They were his team. He let out a breath, the tension in his shoulders dropping. "Okay. You're right. I'm sorry." "Good," Mallow said, crossing her arms. "Now, where do we go? The professor's lab is probably swarming with those Black Ops guys." "We need to get off Melee Island," Ash said, his mind shifting into tactical gear. If we stay here, they'll grid search the city until they flush us out. We need room to maneuver. We need to get to Akala. The ferry? Lillie asked. Too public, Lana shook her head. The docks will be locked down. We're not taking a ferry, Ash said, a dangerous glint returning to his eyes. We're stealing a boat. The Obsidian Command Center, temporary HQ Commander Hideo stood before a wall of monitors, his hands clasped behind his back. He was a man of sharp angles, pressed gray uniform, rimless glasses, and a posture that suggested a steel rod had been inserted in place of his spine. On the screens, heat maps of Hawali City pulsed with data. Subject Ketchum has exited the subterranean network, a technician reported, their fingers flying across a holographic keyboard. Aura resonance detected in Sector 4. It's faint. He's suppressing it. He is learning, Hideo noted, his voice smooth and devoid of emotion. He adapts. That is why he is dangerous. The champion-class trainer is a chaotic variable. They bend reality to suit their emotional whims. We bring order. Sir, the 3 civilians are still with him. Hideo adjusted his glasses. Collateral damage is regrettable, but acceptable. Initiate the shackle protocol. Activate the dampening towers in the harbor district. If he tries to summon his beasts, I want their nervous systems to burn. And the media? Spinning the narrative. The public believes he is carrying a void parasite. Fear will keep them indoors. Proceed. The harbor district. The docks were a maze of shipping containers and cranes, bathed in the harsh white glare of floodlights. The sea was choppy, black waves slapping against the concrete. Ash, Lillie, Mallow, and Lana moved through the shadows of the container stacks. They moved in a diamond formation, Ash on point, Lana and Mallow on the flanks, Lillie covering the rear. There, Lana whispered, pointing toward a sleek, unmarked speedster docked at the end of a private pier. That's an Ether Foundation pursuit craft. It's fast, and it has encrypted NAV systems. Can you pilot it? Ash asked. I can make it dance, Lana promised. Wait, Mallow grabbed Ash's arm, pulling him down behind a crate of oran berries. A patrol was passing. Not humans. They were quadrupeds, mechanical hounds made of the same black metal as the soldier in the tunnels. Their eyes were red optical sensors that swept the area in grid patterns. Hunt droids, Ash muttered. No scent, no fear. Pikachu can't zap them without giving away our position. We need a distraction, Lillie whispered. Something big enough to pull the guards away from the boat. Ash looked at the layout. There were 3 guard towers overlooking the pier, each mounted with heavy cannons that hummed with a low-frequency vibration. Those towers, Ash said, nodding toward them. That sound, it's an interference field. If we release Pokémon near them, they'll be paralyzed by the sonic feedback. So we can't fight? Mallow asked, gripping a Pokeball. We can't use Pokémon, Ash corrected. He looked at his own hands. But we aren't Pokémon. He turned to the girls. Lana, get to the boat. Prep the engines but keep them cold. Mallow, Lillie, I need you to rig the fuel drums over there. He pointed to a stack of red barrels near a warehouse. Don't blow them up, just create a leak and a fuse. We need smoke, lots of it. And you? Lillie asked, her eyes wide. I'm going to turn off the lights. Ash didn't wait for an argument. He broke cover, sprinting not toward the shadows, but directly toward the base of the central guard tower. He moved with a speed that bordered on supernatural. Years of running with Lucario, Greninja, and Pikachu had changed his physiology. He vaulted a concrete barrier, slid under a robotic hound's vision cone, and slammed into the ladder of the tower. Hey, a guard shouted from the walkway above. Target spotted. Sector 7. Sirens began to wail. The mechanical hounds whipped around, their metal claws skittering on the pavement as they locked onto him. Ash didn't look down. He climbed, scaling the 20-foot ladder in seconds. A soldier in black tactical gear leveled a rifle at him. Halt! Ash grabbed the barrel of the gun, twisted his hips, and used the soldier's own momentum to flip him over the railing. The man screamed, landing in a pile of netting below, alive, but out of the fight. Non-lethal, Ash reminded himself, gritting his teeth. He reached the control console of the tower. It was a mess of wires and screens. He didn't know how to hack, but he knew how to break things. Pikachu, Ash tapped the pokeball on his belt, not releasing him, but channeling the aura through the metal. Just a spark. Short the grid. The ball pulsed. A surge of yellow electricity shot from Ash's hand into the console. Sparks showered down like fireworks. The humming sound of the interference field died with a groan. The floodlights in the entire sector popped and went dark. Now! Ash yelled into the darkness. Boom! Across the dock, the fuel drums ignited. It wasn't a devastating explosion, but the mixture Mallow and Lillie had concocted created a wall of thick, oily black smoke that rolled over the pier, blinding the sensors of the droids. Ash! Boat! Lana's voice cut through the chaos. Ash leaped from the tower, grabbing a crane cable and sliding down. He hit the deck of the pier and sprinted toward the speedster. Bolts of red energy sizzled past him. The obsidian soldiers were firing blind through the smoke. He dove onto the deck of the boat just as the engines roared to life. The vessel lurched forward, tearing away from the dock. Get down! Lana yelled, spinning the wheel hard to the left. The boat banked sharply, spraying a curtain of seawater into the air. But as they cleared the harbor mouth, a spotlight from the sky pinned them. You cannot escape, a voice boomed from overhead. A massive aerial drone, the size of a small house, hovered above them. Beneath its chassis, a cannon charged with purple energy began to glow. That's a dark pulse cannon, Lillie screamed over the roar of the wind. The shields won't hold. Lana, evasive maneuvers. Ash shouted, standing up on the swaying deck. I can't outrun that. Lana cried, her knuckles white on the throttle. The cannon fired. A beam of darkness tore through the water, missing the boat by inches but sending a shockwave that nearly capsized them. They're going to sink us, Mallow yelled, clutching the railing. Ash looked up at the drone. It was too high for Pikachu. Too heavily armored for Charizard. He closed his eyes. He reached out with his feelings, not to his Pokémon, but to the land itself. To the electricity in the air. To the guardian that watched over Melee. We fight for Alola, Ash projected the thought, a desperate plea thrown into the void. Help us. The clouds above them began to swirl. The air pressure dropped instantly, making their ears pop. A jagged crack of yellow lightning split the night sky, but it didn't vanish. It lingered, crackling, forming a shape. Tapu Koko. Lillie whispered, looking up. The island guardian descended like a thunderbolt made flesh. It didn't look at Ash. It looked at the drone offending its sky. Tapu Koko shrieked, a sound like tearing metal. It slammed its shell shut, becoming a bird head of pure electricity, and rammed the drone. The impact was blinding. The drone didn't just explode, it disintegrated. Metal rained down into the sea, hissing as it hit the water. Tapu Koko hovered for a moment, its electric eyes locking onto Ash. It gave a single, sharp nod, then vanished into the clouds as quickly as it had appeared. Did you call him? Mallow asked, staring at Ash with wide eyes. Ash slumped against the cabin wall, exhaustion washing over him. I just asked for a favor. Lana gunned the throttle, and the boat shot out into the open ocean, leaving the burning lights of Hawali City behind. The open sea, 1 hour later the adrenaline had faded, leaving only the cold bite of the ocean wind. The boat cut through the waves with a rhythmic thump. Ash sat on the stern, looking back at the receding island. He was wrapping a fresh bandage around his hand. Lillie came out of the cabin, holding 2 mugs of hot cocoa she'd found in the galley's instant machine. She sat down next to him, their shoulders touching. "Here," she said softly. Ash took the mug, the warmth seeping into his frozen fingers. "Thanks. You were reckless back there," Lillie said, watching the wake of the boat. "I know. You jumped off a 20-foot tower." "I know." Lillie turned to him, her expression softening. She reached out and brushed a strand of wet hair from his forehead. "But you also saved us. Again." "We saved each other," Ash said, looking at her. "The smoke. The driving. I couldn't have done it alone." Lillie smiled, a small, fragile thing. "That's the point, Ash. That's why we proposed. Because you don't have to do it alone anymore." The cabin door opened, and Mallow and Lana stepped out. Mallow was holding a map, and Lana was checking the GPS. "We're clear of the jamming zone," Lana reported. "Heading for the eastern coast of Alola. There are sea caves near Brooklet Hill where we can hide." "Good," Ash said. He took a sip of the cocoa. It was too sweet, but it tasted like life. "So," Mallow said, sitting on the deck across from them. "We're fugitives. We're fighting a shadow government. And we're engaged." She looked at Ash, a mischievous glint returning to her eyes. "You really know how to show a girl a good time, Ketchum." Ash laughed, a genuine sound that broke the tension. "I aim to please." He looked at the 3 of them, Lillie, elegant and brave, Mallow, warm and fierce, Lana, calm and dangerous. They were battered, tired, and hunted. And he had never felt stronger. "Get some rest," Ash told them. "I'll take the first watch." "We'll take shifts," Lana corrected. "Partners, remember." Ash smiled, leaning back against the gunwale as the moon finally broke through the clouds, illuminating the path ahead. "Partners," he agreed. Chapter 2 End. The Alolan Ascendancy Chapter 3, Tides of Iron. The sun rose over the Pacific not as a promise, but as a revelation of vastness. The ocean between Mallow and Alola was a sprawling desert of sapphire, broken only by the rhythmic whitecaps that slapped against the hull of the stolen ether speedster. Lana stood at the helm, her hands resting lightly on the wheel, her eyes reading the water the way a scholar reads a text. Ash sat on the prow, legs dangling over the edge, watching the spray. The salt crusted on his skin, stinging the cuts from the stadium battle and the subsequent escape, but the pain was a grounding tether. It reminded him he was alive. "Currents are weird," Lana murmured. Her voice was barely audible over the hum of the engines, but Ash heard it. He turned, sliding back into the cockpit where Mallow was sorting through their limited rations and Lillie was cleaning the soot from her dress with a damp cloth. "Weird how?" Ash asked, moving to stand beside Lana. "Choppy," she said, her brow furrowing. "The patterns are wrong. The tentacle drift usually moves south this time of year, but the water is empty. It's too quiet." Ash looked out at the horizon. "Maybe the storm last night spooked them." "No," Lana shook her head, her knuckles whitening slightly on the wheel. "The ocean doesn't get spooked, Ash. It gets angry. But this feels dead." As if in response to her words, the boat crested a large swell, and the view ahead cleared. Mallow gasped, dropping a packet of crackers. A mile out, the water had changed color. The vibrant tropical turquoise bled into a sickly, oily gray. Floating on the surface were hundreds of shapes, Magikarp, wind gull, tentacle. They weren't moving. "Arceus," Lillie whispered, stumbling to the railing. Lana killed the engines instantly. The boat drifted into the field of debris. Silence fell over the group, heavy and suffocating. "Are they?" Mallow couldn't finish the sentence. Lana vaulted over the railing, diving into the water before Ash could stop her. She surfaced a moment later, holding a limp Corsola. She treaded water, pressing her ear to the coral Pokémon's shell. "It's alive," she shouted back, her voice shaking with a rage Ash had rarely heard. "But barely. Its heartbeat is erratic. Something scrambled its equilibrium." Ash reached down, hauling Lana and the Corsola back onto the deck. She was shivering, but not from the cold. The water dripping from her blue hair seemed to sizzle with her intensity. Sonic weapons, Ash realized, his mind flashing back to the interference towers at the dock. The Directorate. They aren't just jamming communications. They're sanitizing the area, Lana spat, placing the Corsola gently in a bucket of seawater Mallow had prepared. Water types rely on vibration for sonar and navigation. If you blast a high-frequency disruption wave underwater, it's like a flashbang going off inside their brains, Lillie finished, looking horrified. It paralyzes them. "It's a blockade," Ash said, his eyes scanning the gray horizon. "They know we're heading to Akala. They've set up a net." "Ash," Mallow pointed to the east. "Look." Emerging from the morning haze came the shapes. They weren't the wooden fishing trawlers or sleek ferries typical of Alola. These were gray, angular nightmares of steel, destroyers with low profiles and no markings, save for the obsidian shard painted on their prows. There were 5 of them, moving in a V formation. The water around them rippled unnaturally, vibrating with the invisible pulse of the sonic cannons mounted on their decks. "The Iron Fleet," Ash muttered. "They found us." "They're hurting the ocean," Lana said. She wasn't looking at the ships, she was looking at the suffering Pokémon floating around them. She turned to Ash, her eyes blazing with a terrifying calm. "Ash. I want to sink them." Ash looked at the fleet. He looked at the tech that was specifically designed to neutralize Pokémon. Then he looked at Lana. This wasn't just a tactical obstacle, this was her home being violated. "We can't outrun them," Ash assessed. "Not with those sonic waves destabilizing the water. If we try to flee, they'll just widen the pulse and knock us out." "So we fight," Lillie said, stepping up beside Mallow. "But how? Our Pokémon will be affected by the sound too, right?" "Water types will be hit hardest," Ash said. "Flying types might get disoriented. We need to hit them hard and fast before they can lock onto us." He looked at Lana. "Can you get us close? Inside their minimum range?" Lana looked at the destroyers, calculating angles, drag, and wave height. A shark-like grin slowly spread across her face. "I can get us close enough to scratch their paint." "Good," Ash said. He walked to the bow of the boat. "Mallow, Lillie, keep the Corsola safe. If anyone tries to board, blow them off the deck. Lana, drive." "What are you going to do?" Mallow shouted as the engines roared back to life. Ash didn't answer. He closed his eyes, extending his aura outward. The sonic waves were a chaotic storm in his mind, a screeching wall of noise. But beneath it, he felt something else. A deep, primal rage. The sonic waves weren't just hurting the small fry. They had woken something up. "Lana!" Ash yelled over the wind as the boat surged forward, skipping over the waves. "Aim for the flagship. The big one in the center." The Directorate ships opened fire. Not bullets, but focused blasts of pressurized water and sonic cannons. The ocean around them exploded in geysers of spray. Lana didn't flinch. She spun the wheel, sending the speedster into a drift that defied physics, dodging a water cutter beam by inches. She treated the heavy waves caused by the enemy ships not as obstacles, but as ramps, launching the boat into the air to clear a spread of torpedoes. "We're getting hemmed in," Lillie warned, clinging to the cabin door. 2 destroyers on the flank. The sonic vibration increased. Ash felt it in his teeth. Below them, the water began to churn violently. "Perfect," Ash grinned. A massive serpentine shape erupted from the ocean between their boat and the flanking destroyer. It was a Gyarados, wild, massive, and absolutely livid. Its eyes were red with pain and fury, the sonic waves driving it into a berserker state. It roared, a sound that shook the fillings of everyone on deck. "It's going to attack us." Mallow screamed. "No!" Ash yelled. He leaped onto the railing, balancing precariously as the boat rocked. He didn't reach for a pokeball. He reached out with his hand. "I know it hurts." Ash projected the thought, pouring his aura into the connection. "I know. They're doing this to you." The Gyarados paused mid-thrash, its massive head swiveling toward Ash. For a second, the beast contemplated swallowing the boy whole. "Use the anger." Ash commanded, his will colliding with the Pokémon's instinct. "Don't fight the pain, fight the source. Help me stop the noise." The Gyarados roared again, but this time, the sound wasn't chaotic. It was an acknowledgement. "Lana. Keep going." Ash shouted, and then he jumped. He didn't land in the water. He landed on the coarse, scaled neck of the Gyarados. "He's insane," Lillie breathed. "He's actually insane." "That's our husband," Lana yelled, a fierce joy in her voice. "Hang on." Ash gripped the Gyarados' dorsal fins. "Take them down." Hydro pump. The wild Gyarados unleashed a torrent of water that hit the flanking destroyer with the force of a tsunami. The metal plating buckled. The ship listed heavily, its sonic cannon firing harmlessly into the sky. "One down." Ash yelled. But the flagship was reacting. The central vessel, twice the size of the others, turned its main battery toward Ash. A purple glow began to gather at the barrel tips. Anti-energy cannons, Ash realized. Gyarados, dive. They plunged underwater just as the beam sheared through the air where they had been. The ocean was murky, vibrating with the painful hum of the sonic weapons, but Ash held his breath, his aura forming a protective bubble around his mind to keep him conscious. Gyarados swam with terrifying speed, closing the distance to the flagship. Ash signaled, and they breached the surface right alongside the metal hull. Ash vaulted off the Pokémon's back, catching a scupper hole and hauling himself onto the deck of the enemy ship. "Thanks, big guy." Ash shouted down. "Keep the others busy." Gyarados roared and turned to terrorize a support frigate. Ash was on enemy soil. Or rather, enemy steel. The deck was swarming with Directorate troopers in grey tactical armor. They froze for a split second, staring at the boy who had just ridden a sea monster onto their ship. "Hi," Ash said. "Fire," a squad leader screamed. Ash moved. He ducked under a stun baton swing, swept the legs of the attacker, and grabbed a riot shield from a second guard. He charged forward, using the shield to bulldoze through a line of riflemen. Pikachu, Iron Tail. Pikachu, who had leaped from the boat to join Ash during the chaos, slammed his metallic tail into the primary sonic emitter on the deck. The machine sparked and died with a whining power-down noise. "The noise is gone." Lana's voice crackled over Ash's comms earpiece, stolen from the warehouse. "I'm heading for the bridge," Ash reported, discarding the dented shield. "If I can disable the command codes, the whole fleet stops." He sprinted toward the tower, Pikachu clearing the path with thunderbolts that danced across the wet metal deck. Inside the bridge, the scene was clinical. Officers sat at holographic consoles, their faces illuminated by the blue light of tactical maps. At the center stood a man who wasn't Hideo, but clearly high-ranking. He wore the same severe uniform, but his eyes were cybernetic implants. "Ash Ketchum," the captain said calmly, turning to face the intruder. "You are disrupting a sanctioned operation." "You're torturing the ocean," Ash retorted, his fists clenched. "Call off the fleet." "The ocean is a resource," the captain said. "And you are a glitch." The captain tapped a command on his wrist. From the ceiling, 4 automated turrets dropped down. They didn't fire bullets. They fired containment nets made of glowing energy strands. Pikachu, Thunderbolt. Ineffective, the captain stated. The nets absorbed the electricity. They pinned Pikachu to the wall, the energy strands tightening. Pikachu. Ash lunged, but a heavy gravity wave hit him, forcing him to his knees. The captain was holding a device, a gravity dampener. We have studied you, champion, the captain said, walking closer. Your strength comes from mobility and momentum. We remove both. Ash struggled against the invisible weight, his bones creaking. He looked up, sweat stinging his eyes. You think gravity stops me? It stops 99% of biological organisms. I'm the 1%, Ash gritted out. He wasn't using aura to lift the weight. He was using it to signal. Now, Lana. Outside, the ether speedster had not retreated. While Ash distracted the crew, Lana had brought the boat around to the flagship's stern. Primarina. Lana's voice rang out from the ocean below. Oceanic operetta. It wasn't the full Z move, but a concentrated burst of hydroenergy. A massive sphere of water, compressed to the density of concrete, arced over the railing and smashed through the reinforced glass of the bridge. The impact was catastrophic. Seawater flooded the command center, shorting out the consoles. The gravity dampener failed. Ash sprang up instantly. Pikachu, now. Pikachu burned through the failing energy net and unleashed a thunderbolt directly into the wet floor. The current traveled through the water, shocking every crew member in the room into unconsciousness. The cybernetic captain convulsed and collapsed. Ash stood panting in the ruined, ankle-deep water. Nice shot, Lana. I aim to please, came the breathless reply over the comms. Ash walked over to the main console. It was sparking, but the screen was still active. A file was transferring. Target analysis, Ketchum, Ash. Aura frequency, uploading. 98%. Stop, Ash smashed his fist into the screen, shattering it. The upload bar vanished. Did I get it? Ash muttered. A holographic projection flickered to life in the center of the room. It was Commander Hideo. He was sitting in a dark room, steeping tea. You are persistent, Mr. Ketchum, Hideo's image said. He didn't look concerned that his fleet was burning. Leave Alola alone, Ash growled. The upload was completed at 99%, Hideo noted, taking a sip. Sufficient for our needs. You have provided us with the blueprint of your soul. We thank you. What are you going to do with it? We are going to build a better version of you, Hideo said. One that follows orders. Enjoy your swim. The hologram faded. Ash. Mallow's voice screamed over the comms. The ship. It's rigging to blow. Ash felt the deck vibrate. Self-destruct sequence. He grabbed Pikachu and sprinted for the shattered window. He didn't look back. He dove out into the open air, free-falling 60 feet toward the ocean. He hit the water hard, the breath driven from his lungs. He kicked toward the surface, breaking through just as the flagship's hull ruptured. A dull, muffled explosion rocked the water, sending a shockwave that lifted him up. A hand grabbed his collar. He was hauled onto the deck of the speedster. Lana was there, wet, fierce, and beautiful. Gotcha, she said. Ash coughed up salt water, rolling onto his back. Go. Go before the others regroup. Lana hit the throttle. The speedster shot away from the sinking flagship, leaving the crippled Directorate fleet behind in a trail of smoke and oil. 2 hours later, the sea caves of Akala. The hideout was a natural grotto, accessible only at low tide. The light inside was dim and blue, reflecting off the water. Ash sat against a stalagmite, watching Lana. She was kneeling by a pool of water where the rescued Corsola was floating. She had crushed up some citrus berries and was gently feeding the Pokémon. The anger that had fueled her during the battle was gone, replaced by a profound, melancholy tenderness. Mallow and Lillie were setting up a camp further back, giving them space. Ash stood up, his legs stiff, and walked over to her. He sat down at the edge of the pool. "Is he okay?" Ash asked softly. "He will be," Lana said, stroking the coral horns. "The ringing in his ears will stop eventually. But he's scared. He doesn't understand why the water hurt him." She looked up at Ash. Her eyes were red-rimmed. "They made the ocean a weapon, Ash. The one place that's supposed to be safe. We stopped them," Ash said. "This time," Lana whispered. She looked at her hands. "I've always loved the sea because it's stronger than anything. It carves rock. It swallows ships. But today it felt fragile." Ash reached out and took her hand. Her skin was cold from the water, her fingers pruning slightly. "It's not fragile," Ash said firmly. "And neither are you." Lana looked at him, startled by the intensity in his voice. "I saw you today, Lana," Ash continued. "You didn't just pilot a boat. You commanded the battle. You saved me. You saved Gyarados." "I was angry," she admitted. "You were protective," Ash corrected. "That's what makes a champion. It's not about how hard you hit. It's about what you're willing to break to protect what you love." Lana searched his face. She saw the bruises, the exhaustion, but also the unshakable belief in her. "I don't want to be a victim, Ash," she said softly. "I don't want to be the girl who waits on the shore." "You're not," Ash said. He squeezed her hand. "You're the tide. You're unstoppable." Lana let out a shaky breath, a half-smile touching her lips. She leaned forward, resting her forehead against his shoulder. It wasn't a kiss, but it was an intimacy deeper than one. She was drawing strength from his heat, and he was drawing calm from her presence. "They took your data," Lana murmured against his shirt. "That man. Hideo. He has your aura pattern." "Let him have it," Ash said, his voice dropping to a low rumble. He looked out at the cave entrance, where the tide was beginning to rise, sealing them in for the night. "Why?" Lana pulled back to look at him. Ash's eyes were hard, the playful trainer gone, replaced by the warrior who had faced gods. "Because a blueprint isn't the building," Ash said. "They can copy my power. They can copy my moves. But they can't copy this." He looked at Lana, then back at Mallow and Lillie by the fire. "They don't have a reason to fight," Ash said. "We do." Lana stared at him, and for the first time since the proposal, she truly understood the magnitude of what they had initiated. They weren't just marrying a hero. They were forging a legend. "Come on," Lana whispered, standing up and pulling him with her. "Mallow made stew. And you need to change your bandages before you bleed on my boat." "Technically, it's the Ether Foundation's boat," Ash pointed out, standing up. "Possession is 9/10 of the law, Ketchum," Lana smirked, the spark returning to her eyes. "And I'm the captain now." Ash laughed, following her toward the warmth of the fire. Outside, the ocean churned, washing away the scars of the battle, eternal and enduring. Chapter 3 End. The Alolan Ascendancy. Chapter 4, The Jungle's Heartbeat. The lush jungle did not welcome them. Usually, entering the dense canopy of Akala's heart was like stepping into a warm, humid embrace. It was a cacophony of life, fomantis chirping, comfey drifting on the breeze, the heavy, sweet scent of crushed apricorns. But today, the jungle was a tomb. Mallow stopped dead, her boots sinking into the loam. She raised a hand, signaling the others to halt. "What is it?" Ash whispered, crouching instantly, his hand hovering near Pikachu. "Silence," Mallow said, her voice tight. "Don't you hear it? There are no birds. No bug types. She walked over to a massive fern, its fronds usually vibrant green and upright. Now, they were brown, wilted, and dripping a viscous, translucent slime. She touched a leaf, and it crumbled to gray dust in her fingers. "It's dying," Mallow choked out, a sudden well of tears springing to her eyes. She wasn't just observing the forest; as a grass-type specialist, she felt the ecosystem's pulse. And right now, the pulse was thready, struggling against a poison she didn't recognize. "Is this natural?" Lillie asked, scanning the dark tree line with a flashlight. "A blight?" "No," Ash said. He walked past Mallow to a clearing ahead. He knelt down, inspecting a metallic canister half buried in the mud. It was marked with the Obsidian Directorate's shard logo. "It's them." A faint hiss escaped the canister. The smell wasn't like smoke, it smelled like sterile chemicals, like a hospital ward cleaned with bleach, utterly alien to the organic richness of the jungle. "It's an enzyme," Lana said, leaning over Ash's shoulder, covering her nose and mouth with her scarf. "Look at the soil. It's breaking down the cellular structure of the plants. They aren't burning the forest down. They're dissolving it." "Why?" Lillie asked, horrified. "To remove the cover," Ash said, standing up. His face was a mask of cold fury. "Guerrilla Warfare 101. If the enemy uses the jungle to hide, you kill the jungle. They're trying to flush us out. They're killing everything to get to one man." Mallow's voice rose, trembling with a mix of grief and rage. She looked around at the decaying paradise she had spent her childhood exploring. "This is lush jungle. It's a sanctuary. The totem Pokemon lives here." "Not anymore," a distorted voice echoed through the trees. The group spun around, forming a defensive circle. From the shadows of the canopy, a drone descended. It wasn't the combat model from the ocean. It was a projector unit. A hologram of Commander Hideo flickered into existence, floating above the rotting ferns. "Ms. Mallow," Hideo's image addressed her directly, his tone conversational. "My analysis indicated you would be the most emotionally compromised by this tactic. Sentimentality is a tactical weakness." "You monster," Mallow spat. "You're destroying an entire ecosystem." "We are sanitizing a combat zone," Hideo corrected. "We deployed a variation of the repel spray, refined to a molecular level. It suppresses the biological energy of Pokemon. We call it the silencer. In 10 minutes, the concentration in this sector will be high enough that no Pokemon will be able to draw breath, let alone attack." Ash stepped forward, placing himself between Mallow and the hologram. "Show yourself, Hideo. Or are you just going to hide behind screens? I am a strategist, Mr. Ketchum, not a gladiator. I have prepared a more suitable opponent for you. A test for your bond." The hologram flickered and vanished. From the deep brush, a sound emerged. It was a wet, tearing noise, like meat being pulled from bone. "Ash," Pikachu's ears flattened against his skull. The electric mouse let out a low, guttural growl that Ash had never heard before. "Pika." Emerging from the defoliated gloom was a creature. It stood on 4 legs, but its anatomy was a nightmare. It had the muscular hindquarters of a houndoom, the armored plating of an agron, and a tail that ended in the stinging barb of a drapion. But its head was a smooth, eyeless dome of synthetic flesh, sensing the world through heat pits like a heatmore. It didn't roar. It clicked. "What is that?" Lana whispered, stepping back. "That's not a Pokemon. It's a chimera," Ash said, his aura flaring up in warning. The energy coming off the beast was wrong. It felt jagged, artificial. It had no soul, only hunger. A gene splice. Team Rocket tried this years ago with Mutwo, but this is just a weapon. The chimera lunged. It moved with blurring speed, faster than a natural biological creature should allow. It ignored the girls completely, launching itself straight at Ash. Pikachu, Thunderbolt. Pikachu unleashed a blast of electricity, but the gas in the air was already taking effect. The bolt was thin, weak. It hit the Chimera's armor and dissipated harmlessly. The gas. Ash realized. It dampens energy attacks. The Chimera slammed into Ash. It was like being hit by a truck. Ash flew backward, crashing through a rotting log. The creature didn't stop. It scrambled over the debris, its drapian tail striking down like a scorpion. Ash rolled, the barb missing his chest by an inch, embedding itself in the earth. He grabbed the tail with both hands, his muscles straining as he tried to keep the creature at bay. Serena. Throw kick. Mallow screamed, throwing her pokeball. Serena materialized, but as soon as she took a breath, she staggered. The gas was heavier down here. Her usually vibrant legs trembled. She tried to kick, but the Chimera swatted her aside with a casual backhand of its claw, sending the grass-type tumbling into a bush. Serena. Mallow cried, running to her partner. Don't use moves. Ash yelled, struggling under the weight of the beast. Physical attacks only. The air is poison to them. Lana and Lillie realized the stakes. They couldn't rely on beams or blasts. Snowy, create an ice patch on the ground. Trip it. Lillie commanded. Snowy wheezed but managed to exhale a layer of frost. The Chimera, preparing to bite Ash's face off, slipped. Its heavy paws lost traction. Ash used the opening. He didn't retreat. He roared, channeling his aura into his own body, reinforcing his muscles, his bones, and kicked upward. His boot connected with the creature's jaw with a sickening crack. The Chimera was thrown back, shaking its head, clicking furiously. Ash scrambled to his feet, panting. His chest heaved. Get back. Everyone get back. Ash, you can't fight that thing hand to hand. Lana shouted, drawing a telescoping baton she had taken from the boat's emergency kit. I have to. Ash said. The Pokémon can't breathe. If we stay here, the gas kills them. If we run, that thing hunts us down. He looked at the Chimera. It was recovering, its synthetic flesh knitting back together. Regenerative capabilities. Mallow. Ash shouted, not looking away from the monster. The gas. Is there a counter? Mallow was kneeling beside Serena, checking her pulse. She looked up, her eyes wide with panic. It's a biological enzyme. I don't have a lab. You don't need a lab. Ash's voice cut through her panic like a knife. You know this jungle. You know every plant, every berry. Think. What neutralizes toxins? What purifies the air? The Chimera charged again. Ash met it, dodging a swipe of its claws and landing a punch to its ribs, but the creature's armor was like steel. It tackled him, pinning him against a tree. Mallow watched Ash struggle. She saw the blood seeping through his shirt. She saw Pikachu trying to generate electricity but coughing, his sparks dying. She looked at the dying ferns. She looked at the gray sludge on the leaves. The jungle isn't dead, she realized. It's choking. Pecha berries neutralizes poison, Mallow muttered, her mind racing. But this is airborne. We need filtration. We need photosynthesis on overdrive. She looked at a patch of withered lum berries nearby. Lana, Lillie. Cover Ash. Mallow commanded, standing up. The panic was gone. In its place was the steely resolve of a chef who had 5 minutes to save a ruined service. On it. Lana and Lillie rushed forward. Lana used the baton to jam the Chimera's jaw open as it tried to bite Ash, while Lillie threw a heavy rock at its eye sensors. Mallow ran to the lum berry bush. She began tearing the berries off, crushing them in her hands. Serena, Mallow whispered to her groggy Pokémon. I need you to listen. I don't need a kick. I need aromatherapy. But not just a move. I need you to sweat it out. Push it through your leaves. Serena looked at her trainer, her eyes hazy. Trust me, Mallow said. She smeared the crushed lum paste onto Serena's sepals. The lum extract will act as a catalyst. Ignite your natural pollen. Purify the air. Ash screamed in pain as the chimera's claw raked across his thigh. He fell, the monster looming over him, its tail poised for the kill. Now! Mallow shrieked. Serena spun. She didn't attack the enemy. She spun in place, a whirlwind of motion. The lum paste mixed with her natural scent glands. A pink shockwave of pollen exploded outward. It hit the gray gas like a chemical fire suppressant. Where the pink dust touched the gray fog, the air sizzled and cleared. The scent of sweet, potent mint and citrus flooded the clearing. The chimera shrieked. The sudden change in air quality confused its heat sensors. The gas is clearing. Lana yelled, taking a deep breath of clean air. Pikachu! Ash yelled from the ground, kicking the confused chimera in the stomach. It's clear. Do it. Pikachu didn't need to be told twice. The suppression was gone. The little mouse leaped into the air, spinning. Chuopika. An iron tail, charged with the full, unadulterated power of a Z-move veteran, slammed into the chimera's head. The synthetic armor shattered. The beast collapsed, twitching, smoke rising from its cranium. Ash scrambled back, dragging himself away from the carcass. He leaned against the tree, clutching his bleeding leg. The silence returned to the jungle. But this time, it wasn't the silence of death. It was the silence of recovery. Mallow walked over to the canister of gas. She placed her hand on it. Vines from the ground, revitalized by the aromatherapy, surged up and crushed the metal, sealing the leak. She turned to Ash. He was a mess. His clothes were shredded, his leg was bleeding freely, and his face was bruised. But he was grinning at her. Told you, Ash wheezed. You know your ingredients. Mallow didn't smile. She walked over to him, her apron stained with berry juice and mud. She dropped to her knees in the dirt, ignoring the gore of the battle. You idiot, she whispered. Her hands hovered over his leg, trembling. You absolute idiot. You acted like bait. It worked, Ash said. You could have lost your leg, Mallow said, her voice rising. She ripped a strip of cloth from her own skirt and began to bind the wound. Her touch was firm, professional, but Ash could feel the terror radiating off her. You could have died because I hesitated. You didn't hesitate, Ash said softly. He reached out, covering her busy hands with his own. You solved it. I just bought you time. Mallow looked up. Her green eyes were swimming with tears. I'm not a fighter, Ash. Lana is the warrior. Lillie is the tactician. I'm just the cook. I grow things. I don't destroy things. And that's why you saved us, Ash said. He squeezed her hands. Hideo tried to kill the jungle. He thought power was just destroying. You proved him wrong. You proved that growth is stronger than poison. He leaned forward, wincing slightly as his leg throbbed. I don't need 3 warriors, Mallow. I have plenty of fight in me. I need someone who reminds me what we're fighting for. I need the person who can make things grow in a wasteland. Mallow stared at him. The chaos of the last hour, the dying ferns, the monster, the gas, seemed to recede. We're going to heal this, Mallow said, her voice hardening. She looked around at the scarred clearing. Before we leave, we're going to fix the soil. I'm not leaving my home broken. We'll help, Lillie said, stepping up with a first aid kit. And then, Lana added, kicking the carcass of the chimera, we're going to find Hideo. Ash watched them. The dynamic had shifted again. They weren't just surviving anymore. They were angry. Mallow, Ash said. What? She was tightening the bandage, her brow furrowed in concentration. Marry me. Mallow froze. She looked up, her face flushing a deep, brilliant red that matched the berries she had crushed. We already asked you that, she stammered. I know, Ash smiled, leaning his head back against the tree bark. But I wanted to say it back. Specifically to you. Right now. Mallow let out a breathless laugh, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. She leaned forward and kissed him, quick, fierce, and tasting of tears and sweet berries. Shut up and heal, Ketchum, she whispered against his lips. Or I'll put you on a liquid diet. Yes, ma'am. High above the canopy, the drone that had projected Hideo recorded the scene. In a bunker miles away, the real Commander Hideo watched the screen go dark as a recovered grubbin shot a string of silk over the camera lens. Hideo removed his glasses and cleaned them slowly. Subject Ketchum displays high compatibility with emotional stressors, Hideo noted to his assistant. And the female, the botanist. She neutralized a Class A toxin with weeds. What are your orders, Commander? Hideo put his glasses back on. They are heading to Mount Lanakila. They seek high ground. Initiate the Void Eater protocol. If biology won't stop them, perhaps the supernatural will. Back in the jungle, under the watchful eyes of 3 women who had become his world, Ash Ketchum closed his eyes and allowed himself 5 minutes of rest before the war continued. The jungle, wounded but alive, began to sing again. Chapter 4 End. The Alolan Ascendancy Chapter 5, The Glass Mountain. The air at the base of Mount Lanakila usually tasted of crisp pine and distant ocean salt. Today, it tasted of iron and old graves. The elevation climb had been brutal. With the main transport lifts shut down by the Directorate's quarantine protocols, Ash and the girls had been forced to hike the old pilgrimage trails. The transition from the humid warmth of the jungle to the biting chill of the alpine zone had been jarring, but as they crossed the snow line, the weather shifted from natural cold to something malevolent. It's dropping too fast, Lillie shouted over the rising wind. She checked her thermometer, the digital readout flickered and died. Ash, this isn't a normal front. The pressure is bottoming out. Ash trudged at the front, head down, shielding his face with his arm. His injured leg from the jungle fight was stiff, the cold seeping into the bone, but he kept a steady rhythm. We need to reach the cave system near the summit. The altar is just past the ridge. We're not going to make it. Lana yelled, her voice snatched away by a gust that nearly knocked her off the narrow path. She grabbed Mallow's arm to steady her. We need shelter now. As if the mountain heard them and took offense, the sky above turned a bruised purple. The clouds didn't drift, they boiled. Whum! A low-frequency pulse vibrated through the ground, shaking the ice beneath their boots. What was that? Mallow gasped, looking around. Ash stopped. He reached for his belt. Something's wrong. Pikachu, return. He tried to recall the mouse to his ball for safety, but the red beam of light sputtered and failed. The pokeball remained inert. My belt. Lana cried, tapping her own pokeballs. The locking mechanisms are jammed. I can't release anyone. It's a magnetic field, Lillie realized, horror dawning on her face. A negation field. They've rigged the mountain. We can't call our Pokemon out, and we can't put them back in. We're cut off, Ash said grimly. He looked at Pikachu, who was shivering on his shoulder, and the girl's partner Pokemon who were walking alongside them. Snowy, Vulpix, looked comfortable, but Serena was wilting rapidly in the cold. They want us to freeze. The wind screamed. It wasn't a metaphor, the sound was a high-pitched shriek that sounded like 1,000 dying voices. The snow began to fall horizontally, shards of ice sharp enough to cut skin. There. Ash pointed to a dark maw in the rock face about 50 yards up a steep incline. A mining drift. Move. They scrambled up the slope. The wind pushed against them like a physical hand, trying to shove them off the cliff. Mallow slipped, sliding back 10 feet before Lana caught her wrist. "I've got you." Lana gritted out, digging her boots into the ice. They tumbled into the cave entrance, collapsing onto the rough stone floor as the blizzard swallowed the world outside. The silence inside was heavy, broken only by their ragged breathing and the chattering of teeth. It was dark, the only light coming from the faint bioluminescence of the moss on the walls and the sparks from Pikachu's cheeks. Is everyone okay?" Ash asked, his voice shaking. "Serena, she's not good," Mallow whispered. She was huddled in the corner, wrapping her apron and jacket around the fruit Pokémon. Serena was comatose, her leaves turning a dull, frostbitten brown. "It's too cold for her." "Snowy is fine, but Poplio is struggling," Lana said, pulling her water type close to her chest. Ash looked at the entrance. The snow was piling up fast, sealing them in. But it wasn't white snow. It was gray, laced with black veins. "That's not weather," Ash muttered, walking to the edge of the light. "That's void energy." "The Directorate, they woke something up." "Ash, stop," Lillie said. Her voice was brittle. Ash turned. Lillie was standing in the center of the cave, staring at the darkness deeper in the tunnel. She was trembling violently, her eyes dilated. "Lillie?" "It's here," she whispered. "Like before. Like the basement at Ether Paradise. It's cold, so cold." Ash realized with a jolt that she wasn't talking about the temperature. She was flashing back. The isolation, the helplessness, the oppressive presence of an alien force, it was triggering the trauma of her childhood with Nihilego. "Lillie," Ash stepped toward her, hands raised. "You're safe. You're with us." "I can't move," she choked out. I can't feel my fingers." "Hypothermia," Lana said sharply, checking Lily's skin. "She's going into shock." "Ash, we need heat. Now." "We can't start a fire," Mallow said, panic edging into her voice. "There's no wood. Nothing to burn." Ash looked at the freezing cave. He looked at his friends, slowly dying of exposure in a trap designed by a man sitting in a warm office. "We share heat," Ash commanded. He sat down against the driest section of the wall, spreading his legs. "Come here. All of you. Pile in." It wasn't romantic. It was survival. Mallow sat on his left, Lana on his right. They pulled Lillie into the center, sandwiching her between them and Ash's chest. They draped their ruined coats over the group, creating a cocoon of body heat. The Pokémon huddled on top of their legs, Pikachu, Snowy, Poplio, and the unconscious Serena. "Focus on breathing," Ash instructed, his arms wrapped around Lillie and Mallow. "In through the nose, out through the mouth." Lillie was shaking so hard her teeth clicked. Ash rested his chin on the top of her head. He could smell the ozone in her hair and the fear radiating off her. "I'm sorry," Lillie whispered, tears freezing on her cheeks. "I'm supposed to be the ice specialist. I'm supposed to be strong here. But I'm just scared." "You're allowed to be scared," Ash murmured, rubbing her arms to generate friction. "This isn't just ice, Lillie. It's malice. Hideo is trying to break us." "He's doing a good job," Mallow mumbled, burying her face in Ash's shoulder. "I can't feel my toes." "Think of something hot," Ash said. "Mallow, talk to me. What's the spiciest thing you ever cooked?" The Magast berry curry," Mallow stuttered. I used too much powder." Kiawe cried. Ash laughed, the sound rumbling in his chest, vibrating through them. "Kiawe crying over curry. That's a good image. Hold on to that. Hours passed. The temperature continued to drop. The darkness at the edges of their vision began to twist. Ash fought to stay awake. His aura was sensing things in the shadows, shapes that weren't there. Voices. He saw his mother crying. He saw Gary Oak turning his back on him. He saw Pikachu lying still. Illusions, he told himself. Void hallucinations. Ash, Lana whispered. She was the most alert, her blue eyes scanning the darkness. Something is watching us. Ash stiffened. He felt it too. Not a ghost. Not a hallucination. Metal. Stay down, Ash whispered. He slowly disentangled himself from the pile. The girls protested the loss of heat, but Ash silenced them with a touch. He stood up, his legs screaming in protest. He limped toward the tunnel darkness. Who's there? Two red optical sensors flared to life in the black. It wasn't a chimera. It was a sentry bot, a sleek, humanoid assassin droid made of the same obsidian metal as the fleet. But this one was adapted for the cold. It moved silently on hover pads. Target located, the droid synthesized. Condition, weakened. Execute. Ash. Lillie screamed. The droid raised an arm. A blade of superheated plasma ignited. No Pokemon, Ash muttered, his hands balling into fists. Just you and me. The droid lunged. Ash didn't have the speed of a Greninja or the power of a Charizard. But he had 15 years of dodging hyper beams. He sidestepped the plasma blade, the heat singing his eyebrow. He grabbed the droid's arm, using its momentum to slam it into the cave wall. Clang. The droid didn't even dent. It backhanded Ash, sending him skidding across the ice. Ash coughed, tasting blood. He scrambled up. Pikachu, stay back. Ash yelled as the mouse tried to charge. Your electricity will arc in this damp air. You'll hit the girls. The droid advanced. Resistance is inefficient. Ash looked around. Ice. Rock. Darkness. He grabbed a loose stalactite from the ground, a jagged spear of rock. Come on. Ash roared, banging the rock against his chest. Is that all you got? The droid charged. Ash waited. He waited until he could smell the ozone of the plasma blade. He dropped to his knees, sliding on the ice. He went under the blade. With a roar of exertion, he drove the rock spear upward, jamming it into the gap between the droid's chest plate and its neck servo. The rock shattered. But it lodged in the joint. The droid jerked, its head locking up. It swiped blindly, the plasma blade slicing into Ash's shoulder, a deep, cauterized burn. Ash screamed, falling back. Ash. Lillie scrambled out of the huddle. She didn't run away. She ran at the droid. Snowy. Lillie yelled. Powder snow. Max output. Into the joint. Snowy, small and shivering, leaped from the pile. She unleashed a breath of absolute zero directly into the gap Ash had created. The moisture in the air, the shattered rock, and the droid's internal wiring flash froze instantly. The metal expanded and cracked. The droid froze mid-swing. Its lights flickered. Lana was there a second later. She swung her heavy baton with both hands, smashing the frozen neck joint. The droid's head snapped off. The body collapsed with a heavy thud. Ash lay on the ice, clutching his shoulder. The smell of burnt flesh filled the cave. Ash. Lillie was on him instantly. She turned him over, her face pale as the snow outside. I'm okay, Ash slurred. The pain was blinding. The shock of the burn combined with the hypothermia was shutting his body down. You are not okay. Lillie cried. She ripped the hem of her dress again. Mallow, I need the medical kit. Lana, keep the others warm. Lillie's hands, usually so gentle, were frantic. She pressed the cloth against his shoulder. Why? Lillie sobbed, tears falling onto his face. Why did you run at it? You don't have powers, Ash. You're human. Ash looked up at her. His vision was tunneling. Because. Ash whispered, his teeth chattering. I promised. No more, running away. He reached up, his bloody hand brushing her cheek. You froze it. Good job. His hand dropped. His eyes rolled back. Ash. Ash. He's passing out. Mallow screamed, crawling over. His body temp is crashing. Lillie looked at Ash's unconscious face. He looked so young. So breakable. Something inside Lillie snapped. But it wasn't a break, it was a hardening. The fear of the cold, the trauma of the void, the helplessness, it all evaporated, burned away by a white-hot need to keep this boy alive. Strip him, Lillie ordered. What? Mallow blinked. Wet clothes kill, Lillie said, her voice icy calm. She began unbuttoning Ash's ruined shirt. Get his wet layers off. We need skin-to-skin contact. It's the only way to transfer heat fast enough. Mallow nodded, understanding. They worked quickly, stripping Ash to his boxers and wrapping him in the driest blankets they had. Lillie climbed in next to him. She pressed her entire body against his, wrapping her legs around his, pulling his head onto her chest. Mallow, Lana, get on the other sides, Lillie commanded. We are not losing him. Do you hear me? We are not losing him today. Lana and Mallow pressed in. They formed a human seal against the cold. Lillie held Ash tight. She could feel his slow, thready heartbeat against her ribs. You stupid, brave idiot, Lillie whispered into his ear. She kissed his temple, fierce and possessive. You saved me from the ultra beasts. You saved my mother. You are not allowed to die in a cave. She looked at the entrance of the cave, where the blizzard was raging. Do your worst, Lillie hissed at the storm. He's ours. The dream Ash was floating. It was warm. It smelled of vanilla and sweet grass. He was standing in a white void. But it wasn't the bad void. It was, peaceful. Solgaleo stood before him. The lion of the sun looked majestic, its mane radiating light. The bond is tested, Solgaleo's voice resonated in his mind. I'm tired, Ash said. They just keep coming. The Directorate. The void. I can't punch a blizzard, Solgaleo. You do not need to punch the wind. You must become the mountain. Solgaleo lowered its head. You carry the sun within you, Ash Ketchum. But even the sun needs the moon to rest. Let them carry you. The image shifted. He saw Lillie, Mallow, and Lana. They weren't behind him. They were holding him up. Their roots were his roots. Wake up. The summit awaits. Dawn. The wind had died. Ash gasped, his eyes snapping open. He was warm. Incredibly warm. He realized he was pinned. Lillie's arm was thrown across his chest. Mallow's head was resting on his stomach. Lana was curled against his back. He shifted slightly, and pain flared in his shoulder, but it was a dull ache, not the sharp agony of before. He looked down. The burn was bandaged cleanly. You're awake. Lillie was looking at him. Her eyes were open, clear and green. She looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, but she was smiling. Hi, Ash rasped. His throat was dry. Hi, she whispered. She didn't move away. How do you feel? Like I fought a robot with a rock, Ash admitted. You did, Lillie said. She brushed his hair back. And then you died on us for about 10 minutes. It was very rude. Ash managed a weak chuckle. Sorry. Don't be sorry, Lillie said, her expression turning serious. Just, stay. I'm not going anywhere, Ash promised. The others began to stir. Mallow groaned, stretching. Is he alive? Or am I hugging a corpse? He's alive, Lillie said. Good, Lana mumbled into Ash's back. Because if he died, I was going to kill him. Ash laughed, and the sound woke Pikachu, who chirped happily and licked Ash's nose. They disentangled themselves slowly, the awkwardness of the situation overridden by the relief of survival. They dressed in their stiff, cold clothes, sharing the last of their rations. Ash walked to the cave entrance. The storm had broken. The sun was rising over Alola. The view from Mount Lana was breathtaking, a sea of clouds below them, the peaks of the other islands poking through like islands in the sky. And there, just a few hundred feet above them, sat the altar of the sun. We made it, Mallow breathed, standing beside him. Not yet, Ash said. He pointed to the altar. Standing on the steps of the ruins was a figure. He had blonde hair that caught the morning light, and a Pokémon that looked like a chimera of God itself stood by his side. Gladion, Lillie whispered. He's waiting for us, Ash said. He turned to the girls. One last push. He winced as he put weight on his leg, but he didn't falter. He had 3 reasons to keep walking. Let's go say hello to your brother, Ash said. Chapter 5 End. The Alolan Ascendancy Chapter 6. The summit of silence. The air at the summit of Mount Lana was so thin it felt less like breathing and more like sipping glass. The storm had cleared, leaving behind a sky of piercing, cloudless azure that stretched into infinity. The altar of the sun sat in the center of the plateau, a massive, ancient construct of obsidian and gold, carved with glyphs that predated human history. It didn't look like a ruin, it looked like a dormant machine waiting for a key. Ash limped the final few yards, his breath pluming in white clouds before him. Lillie, Mallow, and Lana flanked him, their movements stiff from the cold but fueled by the desperate momentum of survival. He's there, Lillie whispered, her voice cracking. Standing at the center of the altar, framed by the twin pillars that represented the gateway to the ultra space, stood Gladion. He wore his standard torn black hoodie, but he looked heavier. His posture was rigid, his arms crossed over his chest. Beside him stood Silvally, the type, Null Evolution, its metallic helmet gleaming in the harsh sunlight, its chimera claws digging into the frost-covered stone. Gladion didn't turn as their boots crunched on the snow. He stared at the empty space between the pillars. I told you not to come, Gladion said. His voice wasn't angry, it was hollow, carried by the wind. We didn't have a choice, brother, Lillie stepped forward, pulling her coat tighter. The Obsidian Directorate, they're hunting us. They tried to kill us. I know, Gladion turned. His green eyes were dull, shadowed by sleeplessness. They told me. They told you? Mallow asked, incredulous. Gladion, they bombed the jungle. They tried to freeze us to death in the caves. They're monsters. They are necessary, Gladion said flatly. He looked at Ash, ignoring the girls. They bring order. They stop the chaos. Ash stepped forward, wincing as his bandaged leg took his weight. Since when do you care about order, Gladion? You're a rebel. You broke Silvally out of a lab. I care about safety, Gladion snapped, his composure cracking for a split second. He pointed a shaking finger at Ash. Yours. Hers. Everyone's. Gladion walked down the steps of the altar, stopping 10 paces away. Silvally growled low in its throat, a sound like grinding gears. Look at them, Ash, Gladion gestured to the girls. Look at my sister. She's shivering. Her clothes are torn. She has the look of a soldier who's seen too much. Because of you. That's not fair, Lana cut in, her voice sharp. It is entirely fair. Gladion shouted, his voice echoing off the peaks. Everywhere you go, Ash Ketchum, disaster follows. Legendaries wake up. Evil organizations rise. The sky breaks open. You are a lightning rod for catastrophe. I stopped the catastrophe, Ash argued, his hands balling into fists. You attract it. Gladion countered. The Directorate showed me the data. The energy spikes. The ultra wormholes. They all center on you. You aren't the hero, Ash. You're the infection. He took a deep breath, regaining his icy demeanor. I made a deal. I hand you over to them. They detain you, safely, humanely. And in exchange, Lillie and her friends are granted full immunity. They go home. They live normal, safe lives. You sold him out. Lillie gasped, stepping back as if slapped. To save me? To save you from him, Gladion said. He reached for a poke ball on his belt. I won't let you die in some war between gods just because he can't sit still. Ash looked at Gladion. He saw the desperation in his rival's eyes. He saw a brother who was terrified of losing the only family he had left. I can't go with them, Gladion, Ash said softly. They don't want to detain me. They want to dissect me. And once they have my power, they'll come for Silverly. They'll come for Lillie. I have their word, Gladion insisted. You have a lie, Ash said. He unclipped Pikachu's pokeball, though the mouse was already on his shoulder, cheeks sparking. I'm not surrendering. Then I'll break your legs so you can't walk, Gladion said, his voice trembling. Silverly. Multi-attack. Get back. Ash shoved the girls behind a pillar of rock just as Silverly launched. The synthetic Pokémon moved like a blurred missile. Its claws glowed with white energy. Pikachu, Iron Tail. Intercept. Chuopika. Steel Med Energy. The collision created a shockwave that blew the snow off the plateau, exposing the black rock beneath. Pikachu was thrown back, skidding across the ice, but he flipped to his feet instantly. Swords dance. Gladion commanded. Silverly roared, red energy spiraling around its body, doubling its attack power. Ash, your shoulder. Mallow screamed from the sidelines. Ash ignored the burning pain in his arm. He couldn't think about pain. He had to think about speed. Quick attack. Circle him. Pikachu vanished, becoming a streak of yellow light. He darted around the heavier Silverly, striking from the blind spots. But Silverly was designed to kill Ultra Beasts, its reaction time was calculated, not instinctual. Crush Claw. To the left. Gladion ordered. Silverly lashed out blindly to its left. It connected. Pikachu was swatted out of the air, slamming into the stone steps of the altar. Pikachu. Ash ran forward, but Gladion stepped in his path. Lycanroc. Stone Edge. Gladion released his midnight form Lycanroc. The wolf slammed the ground, and jagged pillars of rock erupted from the earth, rushing toward Ash. Ash didn't have a Pokémon to block. He didn't have time to dodge. He did the only thing he could. He punched the air. A pulse of blue aura exploded from his fist. It wasn't a move, it was pure kinetic force driven by will. It shattered the lead stone pillar, sending debris flying. Gladion's eyes widened. You're using aura against me. I'm not fighting you, Gladion. Ash yelled, stumbling back as the effort drained him. I'm trying to stop you from making a mistake. The only mistake is letting you roam free. Gladion roared. Silverly. Air Slash. Silvally leaped into the air, firing blades of compressed wind. Pikachu, Thunderbolt. Counter Shield. Pikachu spun on his back, unleashing a dome of electricity. The wind blades shattered against the lightning, but the force drove Pikachu into the ground, cracking the stone beneath him. Ash gritted his teeth. He could end this. He felt the Z-crystal burning on his wrist. 10 million volt Thunderbolt. One shot. It would obliterate Silvally. It might even kill Gladon. He looked at Silvally. The Chimera was panting, its movement slightly sluggish. The bond between Gladion and Silvally was strong. Ash could feel Gladion's fear bleeding into the Pokémon. If I strike with full power, I break them, Ash realized. He hesitated. Why are you holding back? Gladion screamed, seeing Ash lower his arm. Do you think I'm weak? Do you think I need your pity? I think you're scared. Ash shouted back. And I don't hurt friends. We aren't friends right now. Gladion pulled a memory disk from his pocket. A fire memory. He tossed it to Silvally. RKS system. Activate. Silvally's mane turned a blazing red. The heat on the summit spiked. Multi-attack. Fire. Silvally charged, a comet of flame. Ash braced himself. Pikachu was too far away. Primarina. Sparkling Aria. A wall of water crashed into Silvally from the side. Steam exploded, shrouding the altar in white mist. Lana stood there, baton in hand, Primarina beside her. This is a 1v1. Gladion snarled. Not anymore, Lillie stepped out of the mist. Snowy was at her feet, growling. Mallow stood beside her, Serena looking recovered and angry. You want him, Lillie said, her voice shaking but resolute. You go through us. You go through your own sister, Gladion. Gladion froze. Silvally halted, the flames on its mane flickering. Lillie. Gladion lowered his hand. Move. No, Lillie said. She walked toward him, right through the steam. You said you're doing this for me. To keep me safe. Look at me, Gladion. I'm fighting a war. I'm not the little girl in the mansion anymore. She stopped right in front of Silvally. The beast growled, but Lillie reached out and touched its metal snout. Silvally whined, the aggression draining out of it. You're acting out of fear, Lillie whispered. Just like Mother did. The words hit Gladion harder than any Z move. He staggered back, his face pale. Don't compare me to her. Then stop acting like her. Lillie cried. Trust me. Trust us. The silence returned to the mountain. The wind howled, lonely and cold. Gladion looked at Lillie. He looked at Ash, who was standing defensively over Pikachu. He looked at the sky. Gladion's shoulders slumped. They said, they promised. Hum. The sound wasn't the wind. It was the sound of air being displaced by massive engines. The sunlight vanished. Ash looked up. Descended from the stratosphere, cloaked until this very moment, was a massive airship. It was shaped like a dagger, sleek and black, blotting out the sun. The Obsidian Directorate logo was painted on the hull in gray. You were right, Gladion, a voice amplified from the ship boomed down. He is a magnet for trouble. No, Gladion breathed, staring up. You said you'd wait until I signaled. Plans change, the voice, Commander Hideo, said. We detected the aura spike. The subject is weakened. The capture window is open. From the belly of the ship, 6 drop pods shot down. They slammed into the plateau, embedding themselves in the rock. The doors hissed open. Out stepped not soldiers, but slayers. They were 8 feet tall, encased in power armor that hummed with the purple glow of void energy. They carried weapons that looked less like guns and more like tuning forks, anti-resonance emitters. Secure the target, Hideo ordered. Neutralize the variables. Gladden. Ash screamed. Get back. One of the slayers raised its weapon toward Gladion. It fired a pulse of distortion. Gladion raised his arm to block. Silvally. Silvally jumped in front. The pulse hit the Pokémon. It didn't explode. It just stopped. Silvally collapsed instantly, its eyes going dark, its nervous system shut down by the frequency. Silvally. Gladion fell to his knees, checking his partner. Target biologicals identified, a slayer droned, turning its weapon toward Lillie. Ash felt something snap. It wasn't a bone. It wasn't his patience. It was the dam holding back the ocean of power he had been suppressing since the league final. He didn't yell. He didn't command. He breathed. Thump thump. His heart beat in sync with the small electric mouse on the ground. Pikachu. Ready. Ash's eyes opened. They weren't brown anymore. They were glowing a luminous, terrifying blue. The aura didn't flare around him, it condensed. It became a second skin, a tangible armor of force. Leave, Ash said. The word carried physical weight. The snow around him vaporized. The slayer aimed at Lillie. Ash moved. He didn't run. He simply existed at point A, and then existed at point B. He appeared between the slayer and Lillie. He grabbed the barrel of the anti-resonance weapon with his bare hand. The purple energy discharged. Ash's aura met it. Blue clashed with purple. The weapon crumpled like tin foil. What? The slayer synthesized, confusion in its logic circuits. Ash channeled the aura into his palm and shoved the slayer. The armored giant, weighing half a ton, was launched backward across the plateau, smashing through a stone pillar. Pikachu, Ash spoke. His voice was layered, two voices speaking as one. Pikachu was already in the air. He didn't look like a Pokémon. He looked like a bolt of wrath. Thunderbolt. It wasn't a beam. It was an explosion. A sphere of lightning expanded from the center of the plateau, disintegration the drop pods. The remaining slayers raised their shields, but the electricity simply bypassed them, arcing into their armor joints. Warning. Threat level, Omega, the ship's AI blared. Ash stood in the center of the storm, his hair floating in the aura updraft. He looked at the ship. He raised a hand. He was going to pull it down. He could feel the metal. He could feel the pilot's fear. He was going to crush it like a soda can. Ash. The voice cut through the blue haze. Lillie was grabbing his arm. Ash, stop. You're burning up. Ash looked down. His skin was smoking. The sheer output of energy was cooking him from the inside out. He wasn't a Pokémon, his human body couldn't handle this much power for long. I have to. Ash's voice was distorted. They won't stop. We can fight them. Mallow yelled, shielding her eyes from his glow. But not if you kill yourself. Ash hesitated. The blue light in his eyes flickered. In that moment of hesitation, the ship adjusted its tactics. Subject power output unsustainable, Hideo observed coolly from the bridge. Shift targeting. Lock onto the anchors. A laser sight appeared on Lillie's forehead, then Mallow's chest, then Lana's heart, then Gladion's back. Stand down, catch 'em, Hideo's voice boomed. Or I liquidate your harem and your rival. Ash froze. The aura around him raged, wanting to strike, but he saw the red dots. For snipers. High altitude. Even with his speed, he couldn't stop 4 beams at once. He could save 1. Maybe 2. But not all. The blue light in his eyes faded. The wind returned to the mountain. Ash fell to his knees, gasping for air, the exhaustion hitting him like a hammer. "Don't!" Lillie whispered, seeing the look on his face. "Ash, don't you dare." Ash looked at the ship. He looked at the red dot on Lillie's forehead. "Let them go," Ash called out, his voice hoarse. "Surrender yourself," Hideo replied. "Complete compliance." "And they walk away." "Ash, no." Lana screamed, stepping forward. The red dot on her chest didn't waver. Ash stood up slowly. He unclipped his belt. He dropped his pokeballs into the snow. "Even Pikachu's." "Pikachu," Ash said softly. "Stay." Pikachu looked at Ash. The mouse was crying, little sparks falling from his cheeks. "Pika Pi." "Protect them," Ash ordered. It was the hardest command he had ever given. He walked forward, hands raised. "I surrender," Ash shouted. "Come and get me." A tractor beam of purple light shot down from the ship, encasing Ash in a column of force. He was lifted off the ground. "Ash!" Lillie ran. She ran toward the beam, ignoring the sniper sights. She reached out, her fingers brushing the edge of the energy field. "Lillie, go!" Ash yelled as he began to rise. "Take care of them. Go to the Foundation. Find Faba. I'll be back. I promise." "Ash." Lillie watched as he was pulled up, higher and higher, until he disappeared into the bay of the black ship. The bay doors closed. The engines roared. The red sniper dots vanished from their chests. The ship turned and accelerated, vanishing into the clouds within seconds. Silence reclaimed the summit. Lillie stood alone in the snow, her hands still reaching up. Gladion was still on his knees, staring at the empty sky. He actually did it. Mallow fell to the ground, sobbing. Lana struck the stone floor with her baton, a scream of frustration tearing from her throat. Pikachu sat in the pile of discarded pokeballs, staring at the sky where his best friend had vanished. He didn't cry anymore. His ears twitched. He picked up Ash's hat, which had fallen during the ascent, and clutched it. Lillie lowered her hand. Her face was dry. Her expression was terrifyingly empty. She turned to Gladion. Gladion flinched. He expected her to hit him. To scream. "Get up," Lillie said. Her voice was unrecognizable. It was cold. It was the voice of the head of the Ether Foundation. "Lillie?" Gladion stammered. "Get up, Gladion," she repeated. She walked over and picked up Ash's pokeballs. She clipped them to her torn dress. She walked over to Pikachu and scooped him up. "They took him," Lillie said to the group. "They think they won." She looked at the altar of the sun. "They forgot who we are," Lillie whispered. "They forgot that we don't just train Pokémon." She turned to Mallow and Lana. "We are going to burn the Obsidian Directorate to the ground," Lillie declared. "And we are getting our husband back." Chapter 6 End. The Alolan Ascendancy Chapter 7, The Cage of Light. There was no sound in the White Room. There was no time, either. Ash Ketchum hung suspended in the center of a cylindrical chamber, held aloft not by chains, but by a field of dense, pressurized anti-gravity. His arms were spread wide, his legs bound by bands of shimmering light. He couldn't move. He couldn't speak. He could barely think. The machine he was strapped to, the Aura Siphon, was a masterpiece of cruelty. It didn't extract blood, it extracted will. It latched onto the bioelectric field of his body and pulled, a constant, dull ache that felt like his soul was being drawn out through his pores. Every time he tried to focus, to gather a spark of energy, the machine surged, shocking his nervous system into a static hiss. Focus, Ash told himself, his eyes closed. Don't fight the current. Be the rock in the river. The wall of the chamber slid open with a pneumatic hiss. Commander Hideo walked in. He wore a pristine white lab coat over his gray uniform, looking more like a doctor than a warlord. He checked a data pad, tapping a few keys. The pressure on Ash's chest increased, squeezing the air from his lungs. Heart rate is steady, Hideo observed, his voice amplified into the chamber. Remarkable. Most subjects suffer a psychotic break after 4 hours of sensory deprivation. You have been here for 12. Ash opened his eyes. They were bloodshot, heavy with exhaustion, but the fire behind them hadn't gone out. It was just banking. I've had worse, Ash rasped. His voice was dry, cracking. Doubtful, Hideo said, stepping closer to the containment glass. You have faced monsters, yes. But you have never faced futility. That is what this room is, Mr. Ketchum. It is the end of your agency. He swiped the screen. A holographic display appeared, showing footage of Hawali City. People were walking, shopping, eating. The sun was shining. See? Hideo said softly. The world turns without you. The sun rises. The tides roll. You convinced yourself that you were the linchpin, the atlas holding up the sky. But the truth is, you are chaos. And now that you are contained, Alola is peaceful. Ash watched the screen. He saw the peace. But he also saw the fear. He saw the patrols of black armored soldiers on the street corners. He saw the way people kept their heads down. That's not peace, Ash whispered. That's silence. They are the same thing to those who govern, Hideo replied coldly. And your friends? The girls you surrendered for? He switched the image. It showed a falsified report, a luxury Ether Foundation jet taking off, heading for Kanto. They took the deal, Hideo lied. They are going home. They realized that loving a martyr is too expensive. They chose survival. They chose to forget you. Ash looked at the jet. For a second, a spike of cold fear drove into his gut. Did they? It would be smart. It would be safe. If they left, they would live. Part of him wanted them to be on that plane. But then he remembered the heat in the cave. He remembered Mallow's grip on his hand. He remembered Lana's rage. He remembered Lillie standing in front of a god-killing beast. Ash smiled. It was a broken, bloody thing, but it was real. You're bad at this, Ash murmured. Hideo frowned. Excuse me. You treat people like math, Ash wheezed, lifting his head against the gravity field. Variables. Equations. But you don't understand, the bond. The bond is a chemical reaction, Hideo dismissed. Dopamine and oxytocin. No, Ash said. It's gravity. And they aren't gone. He looked Hideo in the eye. They're coming. Hideo scoffed, turning off the display. Let them come. This facility is located on an oil rig in the middle of a hurricane belt, shielded by stealth tech and guarded by a battalion of slayers. If they come, they die. Hideo turned to leave. Increase output to 110%. Burn him out. The door closed. The white light in the room intensified. The pain became a blinding scream. Ash grit his teeth, sweat evaporating off his skin. Come on, he thought, projecting the thought outward, screaming it into the void. I know you're there. The Obsidian site, Rig 42, the Pacific Ocean. The storm was torrential. 50-foot waves crashed against the rusted pillars of the massive offshore drilling platform. The rain was a curtain of gray steel, hiding everything. Including the infiltration team. Clinging to the underside of the lowest maintenance deck, suspended over the churning black water, were 4 figures. Maglock secure, Lillie whispered into her throat mic. She was no longer wearing a dress. She was clad in a white ether tactical suit, sleek and armored. Her blonde hair was tied back in a tight braid. "I'm cutting," Lana replied. She was hanging upside down, her legs wrapped around a support beam. She wore a wetsuit modified with stealth plating. In her hand, she held a plasma cutter stolen from the ether armory. Sparks showered down into the ocean, instantly extinguished by the waves. "Hurry," Gladion hissed. He was covering their rear, Silverly, recovered and rebooted, clinging to the grating beside him. "The patrol drone is on a 30-second loop." "Don't rush, Art," Lana grunted. The metal plate gave way. She caught it with a magnetic grapple before it could clang onto the walkway. "We're in." They pulled themselves up through the hole, entering the bowels of the rig. It smelled of oil and ozone. Red emergency lights pulsed rhythmically. "Mallow, status?" Lillie asked, checking her wrist computer. "I'm in the ventilation system," Mallow's voice crackled in their ears. Section 4. "I found the mess hall. And the barracks." "Do it," Lillie commanded. Section 4, ventilation shafts. Mallow crawled through the narrow duct. She wore green fatigues, her apron replaced by a utility belt filled with pouches. She reached a grate overlooking the main barracks. Below, dozens of off-duty Obsidian soldiers were eating or resting. "Sleep tight, boys," Mallow whispered. She pulled a canister from her belt. It wasn't a grenade. It was a concentrated spore bomb, parasect extract mixed with Jigglypuff vocal cord DNA strands, synthesized by the Ether Labs. She dropped it through the slats. It hissed quietly, releasing a colorless, odorless gas. Within seconds, the chatter below stopped. Soldiers slumped over tables. Guards leaned against walls and slid down, snoring. "Barracks neutralized," Mallow reported, moving on. Heading to the power grid. The corridor. Lillie, Lana, and Gladion moved through the hallways with practiced efficiency. They encountered a patrol, 2 armored guards. "Contact," Gladion warned. Lillie didn't flinch. "Lana." "Bow." Lana slid across the floor on her knees, water from her flask forming a whip. She struck the lead guard's legs, sweeping him off his feet. "Silverly. Crush claw." Gladion ordered. Silverly pinned the guard to the floor, metal claws at his throat. The second guard raised his rifle. Lillie stepped forward. She threw a heavy ball, not to capture him, but to impact. It hit his helmet with a ringing clang, dazing him. "Snowy. Freeze dry." Snowy leaped from Lillie's shoulder, blasting the guard with ice that froze his armor joints instantly. He toppled over, a statue. "Clear," Lillie said, stepping over the frozen guard. "The detention block is 3 levels down." "You've gotten scary," Gladion muttered, recalling Silverly. "I learned from the best," Lillie replied, reloading her wrist-mounted launcher. They reached the elevator. Lillie hacked the panel, overriding the biometrics. The doors slid open. Inside stood a Slayer. The 8-foot-tall power-armored elite. It turned, its visor glowing red. "Intruders detected." "Oh, come on," Lana groaned. "Not another one." The Slayer raised its anti-resonance cannon. "We can't fight that in a box." Gladion yelled. "We don't have to," Mallow's voice came over the comms. "Cutting power, now." The lights died. The rig plunged into darkness. The Slayer's cannon whined as its power source was interrupted. Thermal vision activating, the Slayer synthesized. "Too slow," Lillie said in the dark. She activated a flare rod and jammed it into the elevator's open circuitry. The magnesium burned white-hot, blinding the Slayer's thermal optics. "Lana. Hydro pump. Blast it out." Lana released Primarina. "Do it." The blast of water hit the blinded Slayer in the chest. It flew backward out of the elevator, crashing into the far wall of the corridor. Lillie slammed the emergency close button. The doors shut. Going down, Lillie said, adjusting her gloves. The containment level. The elevator opened onto a pristine white corridor. The auxiliary power had kicked in here, bathing everything in a sterile, dim light. At the end of the hall was a massive blast door. "He's behind that," Lillie said. Her heart hammered against her ribs. She could feel him. It wasn't aura, she didn't have that gift, but it was an ache in her chest that pulled her forward. "The door is reinforced," Glad-Ion said, checking the panel. "It requires Hideo's retinal scan and a voice code. I can't hack this." "We don't have Hideo," Lana said, hefting her baton. "But we have physics." "It's blast-proof, Lana," Glad-Ion said. "You can't hit it." "We can't," Mallow said, dropping from a vent in the ceiling to join them. She was covered in dust but grinning. "But they can." She held up 3 pokeballs. Lillie and Lana did the same. "Combined arms," Lillie said. "Just like he taught us." "Ready?" Mallow asked. "Always," Lana said. "Go." They threw simultaneously. Turtonator. Shell Trap. Primarina. Sparkling Aria. Silvally. Tri-Attack. Snowy. Moon Blast. The attacks didn't just hit the door, they were timed to converge. The fire heated the metal. The water rapidly cooled it, making it brittle. The energy blast struck the weakened center. Boom. The blast door didn't open. It shattered. The smoke cleared. Lillie didn't wait. She sprinted through the ruined archway. Ash. The chamber. Ash heard the explosion. It sounded like music. The lights in his cell flickered. The gravity field wavered. "Containment breach," the automated voice warned. "Initiating purge protocol." The air in the cylinder began to be sucked out. They were killing him to keep him from escaping. Ash looked up. Through the glass, he saw them. Lillie, Mallow, Lana. They were covered in soot, wet, and looking like the most beautiful Valkyries he had ever seen. Lillie saw him gasping, clutching his throat. She saw the vacuum warning. "He's suffocating," she screamed. She ran to the console. It was smashed debris. She couldn't stop it. "Break the glass." Mallow yelled. "Use the Pokemon." "No time." Lana cried. "It's reinforced. It'll take too long." Ash looked at them. He saw their panic. No, he thought. Not after all this. He closed his eyes. The gravity field was fluctuating because of the power outage. The shackle was loose. He reached deep inside himself. Past the exhaustion. Past the pain. He found the spark that Hideo couldn't touch. "I choose you." Ash's eyes snapped open. They glowed blue. He didn't use a move. He screamed. It was a primal release of aura. He pushed outward. The glass of the cylinder cracked. "Get back!" Lillie yelled, tackling Mallow and Lana to the floor. Krakum. The cylinder exploded from the inside out. Shards of glass and energy rained down. Ash fell. He hit the floor hard. He didn't move. Ash. The girls scrambled up and ran to him. Lillie got there first. She slid on her knees, grabbing his shoulders, turning him over. He was pale. Thin. He had electrode burns on his temples. "Ash, breathe," Lillie ordered, her voice shaking. "Come on, breathe." Ash's chest hitched. He sucked in a ragged breath of air. Then another. His eyes fluttered open. He focused on Lillie's face. "You came," he whispered. "We told you," Lillie sobbed, pulling him up into a sitting position. We don't break promises. Ash looked at Mallow and Lana, who were kneeling beside him, hands on his legs, checking for injuries. You guys. Ash coughed, a weak smile forming. You broke the front door, didn't you? We blew it up, Lana corrected, wiping a tear from her eye. It was very therapeutic. We need to move, Gladion said from the doorway. He was watching the corridor, gun drawn. Hideo knows we're here. Reinforcements are coming. Ash tried to stand, but his legs collapsed. I got you, Mallow said, ducking under his left arm. Me too, Lillie took his right. They hauled him up. Can you walk? Lillie asked. Ash looked at them. He felt their strength. It flowed into him, warmer than any aura. Yeah, Ash said, gritting his teeth. I can walk. They moved toward the exit. But as they reached the shattered blast door, a slow clapping sound stopped them. Commander Hideo stood in the corridor. He was alone. He held a small remote in his hand. Bravo, Hideo said. Truly. A spirited performance. I underestimated the ferocity of your attachment. Move and we drop you, Gladion warned, leveling his weapon. I wouldn't, Hideo said, holding up the remote. This rig is rigged, pun intended, with thermal charges on the support struts. One button, and we all sink into the abyss. He looked at Ash. You have a choice, Ketchum. You can die here, with them. Or you can come back to the cage, and I let them take a lifeboat. Ash straightened up. He pulled his arms free from Lillie and Mallow. He stood on his own, swaying slightly. No more deals, Ash said. Then you choose death. Hideo's thumb hovered over the button. No, Ash said. I choose her. He looked at Lana. Lana didn't need a verbal command. She saw the look in Ash's eyes. She saw the sprinkler system nozzle directly above Hideo's head. Poplio. Icy wind. On the ceiling. Lana shouted, throwing her ball. Poplio appeared, blasting cold air at the sprinkler head. The water inside froze, expanded, and burst the pipe. A jet of high-pressure water blasted down onto Hideo. Now. Pikachu. Ash yelled, reaching into Lillie's pocket where she had kept his pokeball. He threw it. Thunderbolt. Pikachu burst out, mid-air. The electricity traveled down the stream of water, hitting Hideo instantly. The commander convulsed, the remote flying from his hand. Snowy. Catch it. Lillie commanded. The Vulpix leaped, catching the remote in her mouth before it hit the floor. Hideo collapsed, smoking and unconscious. Run! Ash yelled. They sprinted down the corridor. The alarm finally began to blare. Self-destruct sequence initiated, the computer announced. 10 minutes to detonation. He had a dead man's switch. Gladion cursed. If his heart rate drops, the timer starts. To the helipad. Lillie shouted. They fought their way up. Slayers tried to intercept them, but they were a juggernaut now. Ash, even weakened, directed the flow of battle. Mallow, smokescreen. Lana, suppressive fire. Gladion, clear the path. They burst onto the rain-slicked helipad. The storm was raging around them. An obsidian transport chopper was spooling up, the pilot trying to take off. We need that ride. Ash yelled. He grabbed Lillie's hand. Jump. They ran and leaped onto the skids of the hovering chopper. Gladion hauled Mallow inside. Lana kicked the pilot out the open door, he had a parachute. Can you fly this? Ash asked Gladion. I can fly anything, Gladion grunted, taking the controls. The chopper lurched away from the rig just as the thermal charges detonated. Below them, the massive oil rig groaned. fire erupted from the struts. The entire structure crumpled and sank into the boiling ocean, swallowed by the waves. The sky, 10 minutes later the chopper cruised above the cloud layer, bathed in moonlight. It was quiet. Ash sat on the floor of the cargo hold. He was wrapped in a thermal blanket. Lillie, Mallow, and Lana sat around him. They weren't speaking. They were just touching him, a hand on his knee, a head on his shoulder, fingers interlaced with his. Ash looked at them. He saw the bruises. He saw the exhaustion. But mostly, he saw the love. "You guys are crazy," Ash whispered, shaking his head. "We're engaged to you," Mallow murmured, eyes closed, resting against him. "Crazy is a job requirement." Lillie lifted her head. She looked at Ash, her eyes searching his face. "Are you okay?" she asked softly. "Really?" Ash took a deep breath. The ache of the aura siphon was gone, replaced by the warmth of their presence. "I am now," Ash said. He leaned forward and kissed Lillie. It was soft, desperate, and full of promise. Then he turned and kissed Mallow on the forehead, and Lana on the cheek. "I love you," Ash said. The words felt heavy, real. "All of you." Lana smiled, squeezing his hand. "We know." Glad Ion called back from the cockpit. "I hate to ruin the moment, but we have a problem." "What now?" Ash asked, groaning. "Look out the window," Gladion said. "Toward the south." Ash and the girls moved to the window. In the distance, where the ether paradise should be, the sky wasn't black. It was purple. A massive beam of dark energy was shooting up from the ocean, piercing the heavens. The clouds around it were swirling into a vortex. "The Void Eater," Ash whispered, dread cold in his stomach. "The rig." "Hideo, it was a distraction. While we were fighting here, the real threat woke up." "We have to go," Lillie said, her voice steel again. "We're barely standing," Mallow argued. "Doesn't matter," Ash said, standing up and shedding the blanket. His eyes were hard. "It started. If we don't stop it, there won't be an Alola to go home to." He looked at his partners. "One last fight?" Ash asked. Lillie, Mallow, and Lana stood up. They checked their weapons. They recalled their Pokémon. They stood beside him. "One last fight," they agreed. The chopper banked, heading straight into the purple storm. Chapter 7 End. The Alolan Ascendancy Chapter 8, The Void Awakens. The sky over the Alola region did not just darken, it bruised. From the cockpit of the stolen obsidian helicopter, the horizon looked like a wound that refused to close. A swirling vortex of violet and bruised black clouds churned directly above the ether paradise, rotating with a slow, hypnotic malevolence. The ocean beneath the floating artificial island wasn't moving in waves anymore, it was trembling, a flat sheet of water shivering under the pressure of an atmospheric collapse. "Readings are off the scale," Lillie shouted over the roar of the rotors and the screaming of the wind. She was huddled over the co-pilot's console, her face illuminated by the flashing red warning lights. "It's not ultra energy. It's antimatter. It's eating the ambient light. Hold on." Gladion yelled, wrestling with the cyclic stick. "The turbulence, it's like the air is fighting us." The helicopter lurched violently to the left, dropping 50 feet in a heartbeat. Ash didn't flinch. He sat near the open bay door, his legs dangling over the edge, staring into the abyss. The wind whipped his hair back, tearing at his bandages, but he sat with the stillness of a statue. Pikachu clung to his shoulder, ears flattened, growling at the purple sky. "It's hungry," Ash whispered, more to himself than the others. "What?" Mallow asked, gripping the safety strap, her face pale. "I can feel it," Ash said, his voice flat. He wasn't using aura actively, he didn't have to. The malice radiating from the vortex was so thick it tasted like copper and ash on his tongue. It doesn't want territory. It wants to feed. Hideo didn't just wake up a monster, he opened a mouth. We're coming in hot. Gladion warned. The landing pads are compromised. I'm putting us down on the conservation deck. The Ether Paradise, usually a gleaming white monument to science and preservation, was a ruin. The massive glass dome that covered the conservation area was shattered, jagged shards of transparency littering the artificial landscape. Smoke billowed from the main administrative tower. But the real horror was on the ground. Shadows were moving. Not the shadows cast by objects, but independent, viscous shapes that peeled themselves off the floor and walls. They looked like puddles of oil that had learned to hate, forming claws and maws, surging toward anything that had a heartbeat. Get ready. Ash stood up, holding the door frame. We hit the ground fighting. The helicopter flared, hovering 10 feet above the grass. Ash jumped before the skids touched down. He landed in a roll, coming up with Pikachu already charging electricity. Iron Tail. Pikachu lunged at a shadow beast that was cornering a terrified Stufful. The steel-hard tail sliced through the entity. It didn't bleed, it evaporated into black mist with a sound like a sigh. Don't let them touch you. Ash roared as Lillie, Lana, and Mallow bailed out behind him. They drain energy. Keep moving. My mother. Lillie shouted, scanning the chaos. She's in the mansion. Go. Ash commanded. Gladion, Lillie, get to Luzamin. Mallow, Lana, secure the Pokémon. Get them to the sub-levels. What about you? Lana asked, smashing a shadow wolf with her baton. I'm going to ring the dinner bell, Ash said, looking up at the vortex. I need to draw its attention. Ash, you're barely standing. Mallow cried. Go. They split up. The team dynamic they had forged in the fire of the last 24 hours held. They didn't argue, they trusted. Lillie and Gladion sprinted toward the burning mansion. Mallow and Lana rallied the panicked Ether employees, forming a defensive perimeter around the fleeing Pokémon. Ash stood alone in the center of the shattered park. He closed his eyes. He ignored the pain in his leg, the burn on his shoulder, the bone-deep exhaustion. He visualized the flame inside him, the same flame that had bonded with Greninja, the same flame that had impressed Solgaleo. He pushed it outward. He made himself a beacon. Here, he projected. I'm right here. The vortex above stopped rotating. The eye of the storm shifted. It looked at him. A beam of pure, concentrated darkness slammed down from the sky, striking the ground 50 yards in front of Ash. The earth groaned. The shockwave knocked Ash back, digging his boots into the soil to stay upright. From the crater, a form rose. It was the Void Eater. It had no true shape. It was a shifting mass of obsidian scales and purple energy, towering 30 feet high. It had wings that looked like torn curtains of night, and a face that was nothing but a single, vertical slit of a mouth, lined with rows of bioluminescent teeth. It roared. The sound wasn't audio, it was a psychic scream that shattered the remaining glass of the dome. Ash covered his ears, his knees buckling. Pikachu shrieked in pain. Okay, Ash gasped, straightening up. You're ugly. The Void Eater lashed out with a tendril of darkness. Pikachu. Volt tackle. Pikachu didn't hesitate. He became a golden meteor, spinning into the tendril. The collision created a flash of light that illuminated the entire island. Pikachu bounced back, skidding across the grass, while the tendril recoiled, hissing. It works, Ash muttered. Light hurts it. But the Void Eater had 1,000 tendrils. It raised them all, preparing to slam them down and crush the island into dust. Ash braced himself. He had no Zering. He had no backup. Sree. The sky tore open again. But this time, the light was yellow. A bolt of lightning, thick as a tree trunk, hammered the Void Eater from above. The monster recoiled, shrieking. Ash looked up. Hovering in the air, surrounded by a crackling electric field, was Tapu Koko. And he wasn't alone. From the east, a trail of pink psychic glitter heralded Tapu Lele. From the south, the heavy thud of hooves on air announced Tapu Bulu. From the west, a mist of purifying water carried Tapu Fini. The island guardians had come. You took your time. Ash yelled, a grin breaking through the grime on his face. Tapu Koko looked down at Ash. The deity chirped, a sound of acknowledgement. We defend the Alola. You defend the light. The four Tapus circled the Void Eater. They moved in perfect synchronization, weaving a net of elemental energy. Electric terrain. Misty terrain. Grassy terrain. Psychic terrain. The ground exploded with color. The grass grew instantly, tangling the Void Eater's legs. Mist obscured its vision. Electricity shocked its nervous system. Psychic waves hammered its mind. Ash. Ash turned. Professor Kukui was running toward him, flanked by Hala, Olivia, Nanu, and Hapu. The kahunas. Professor. Ash breathed, relief washing over him. We saw the sky, Kukui said, his face grim. He threw a fresh zeering to Ash, a black one, made of obsidian glass. Glad Ion sent a distress signal before you landed. We brought the cavalry. Ash caught the ring. He strapped it on instantly. It felt cold, heavy. It's not enough, Hapu said, her small frame trembling as she watched the Tapus fight the eldritch horror. Look. It's adapting. She was right. The Void Eater wasn't dying. It was eating the terrain. The purple darkness was seeping into the grassy terrain, turning the vines black. It was absorbing the electricity. It feeds on energy, Ash realized. The stronger the attack, the stronger it gets. We're feeding it. Then we hit it with something it can't eat, Nanu grunted, releasing his Alolan Persian. Physical trauma. Blunt force. We need to coordinate, Ash said, stepping into the role of general naturally. Kahunas, support the Tapus. Keep it distracted. I need to find its core. Its core? Olivia asked, releasing her Lycanroc. Every Ultra Beast has a center of mass, Ash explained, his tactical mind racing. A brain. A heart. Something that anchors it to this dimension. If we break that, the void collapses. And if you're wrong? Kukui asked. Then we all die, Ash said simply. Pikachu, let's go. The mansion, the laboratory. Lillie kicked the door to the main lab open. Mother. Faba. The lab was in chaos. Scientists were running, grabbing hard drives. In the center, Luzman stood by the main console, typing furiously. Faba was cowering under a desk. Lillie. Luzman turned, her face haggard. You're alive. We need to shut down the wormhole generator. Lillie shouted, running to the console. The residual energy is acting like a beacon for that thing. I can't. Luzman cried. The system is locked out. The directorate installed a override. It's drawing power from the geothermal tap. Move. Gladion shoved Faba aside and jumped onto the terminal. Silvally, interface. Silvally jammed its helmet crest into the data port. Gladion's fingers flew across the keys. It's encrypted, Gladion cursed. Recursive algorithms. It changes every second. It's Hideo's code, Lillie realized. He anticipated this. She looked at the screen. The math was cold, logical, brutal. Lillie, Luzman said, her voice trembling. The entity, it's not just attacking. It's downloading. What? It's interfacing with the Ether database, Luzman pointed out the scrolling text. It's learning about our world. About the cities. The population centers. It's looking for the densest source of light. Lillie went cold. Mallow Stadium. The Z crystals. It wants to consume the Z power. If it gets to the stadium. Gladion stopped typing. It becomes unstoppable. We have to kill the power, Lillie said. Cut the island's main line. That will drop the ether paradise into the ocean. Faba shrieked from under the desk. We'll drown. Better we drown than the world burns, Lillie said. She turned to Gladion. Do it. Gladion looked at his sister. He saw the steel in her eyes. The little girl who needed protecting was gone. Hold on to something, Gladion said. He typed the command. Emergency vent, core. The battlefield, the ground beneath Ash's feet lurched. A siren began to wail, a low, mournful sound. The lights of the ether paradise died. The hum of the anti-gravity engines cut out. The island began to fall. Gravity failure. Kukui shouted. Everyone, recall your heavy Pokemon. Get to the flight deck. The drop wasn't a free fall, the emergency reserve thrusters fired, slowing the descent, but the sudden shift in momentum threw everyone to the ground. The Void Eater roared in confusion. The loss of the island's power grid cut off one of its food sources. It flailed, its tentacles smashing into the administrative tower. It's vulnerable. Ash yelled, scrambling to his feet on the tilting ground. It's disoriented. Ash. Lana's voice came over the comms. We've got the evacuation ships launching. Get out of there. Not yet. Ash replied. He looked at the Void Eater. The creature was glowing brighter now, a sickly, pulsating purple. It was charging up for something. It wasn't attacking the people anymore. It looked up. The vortex in the sky was widening. It's summoning, Ash whispered. It's calling the swarm. From the vortex, hundreds of smaller shapes began to descend. Nihilego. Buzzwole. Guzzlord. But they were all black, corrupted shadows of the beasts Ash knew. This isn't an invasion, Ash realized. It's an extinction event. He tapped his comms. Lillie, Mallow, Lana. Listen to me. We're heading to your position. Lillie shouted. No, Ash said firmly. Get on the ships. Get the civilians out. Regroup at Mallow. Ash, no. Mallow screamed. Don't you do this. Don't you dare play the hero. I'm not playing, Ash said, watching the swarm descend. I'm buying time. The Tapus and I will hold the line. But you need to warn the other islands. Ash. Ash pulled the earpiece out and crushed it. He turned to the kahunas. Go. Get the people safe. We do not leave a champion behind, Hala said, his voice booming like thunder. He ripped his shirt off, revealing a chest covered in scars. Tapu Koko stands with you. So does Hala. And me, Olivia said, wiping dust from her face. Someone has to keep you boys from doing anything stupid. Nanu sighed, lighting a cigarette despite the apocalypse. Guess I'm working overtime. Hapu nodded silently, gripping the reins of her mudstale. Ash looked at them. The strongest trainers in Alola. All right, Ash said. He turned to face the Void Eater and the descending swarm. He looked at the Zering Kukui had given him. He slotted his Picashunium Z, the crystal born from his bond with Pikachu, into the groove. Pikachu, Ash said. Pikachu climbed onto his head. The mouse was tired, bruised, and small against the backdrop of cosmic horror. But his eyes were fierce. Ready? Pika. Let's show them why they should have stayed in the dark. Ash crossed his arms. The Z-ring flared. But it wasn't just yellow light. Blue aura mixed with it, creating a blinding spectrum of power. Alola! Ash roared. He moved through the poses. Not the fluid dance of a performance, but sharp, violent strikes of martial intent. 10 million volt thunderbolt. The sky split. It wasn't a bolt of lightning. It was a pillar of judgment. A dragon made of electricity erupted from Pikachu, screaming into the heavens. It slammed into the descending swarm. Dozens of Shadow UBS were vaporized instantly. The blast wave cleared the clouds for a split second, revealing the stars. The main bolt struck the Void Eater. The entity shrieked, its form destabilizing. The darkness boiled away, revealing a pulsating, crystalline heart in the center of its chest. There. Ash pointed. The core. Tapu Koko. Nature's madness. Tapu Lele. Moon blast. Lichen rock. Stone edge. The combined might of Alola's guardians and kahunas slammed into the exposed core. The Void Eater convulsed. A shockwave of purple energy exploded outward. It hit Ash. He didn't have time to block. The force threw him backward, tumbling across the shattering pavement of the conservation deck. He skidded to a halt near the edge of the floating island, which was now listing dangerously close to the ocean surface. Ash groaned, trying to push himself up. His vision was blurry. His hearing was gone, replaced by a high-pitched ring. He looked up. The Void Eater was damaged. Its chest was a smoking crater. But it wasn't dead. It began to laugh. A low, grinding sound. The shadow tendrils reached out, not to attack, but to grab. They latched onto the falling debris of the ether paradise. They grabbed the trees, the rocks, the buildings. And they began to pull the Void Eater up. It's retreating. Kukui shouted, helping Ash to his feet. No, Ash spat blood. It's ascending. The Void Eater launched itself into the sky, riding the gravity distortions. It didn't stop at the clouds. It kept going. It positioned itself directly in front of the sun. Oh no, Olivia whispered. The entity spread its wings. They expanded, stretching for miles, blotting out the light. The sun disappeared. Alola was plunged into absolute, freezing darkness. The Void Eater wasn't just blocking the sun, it was leeching it. Red solar energy began to flow from the sun into the beast, healing its wounds instantly. It's eating the sun, Ash said, horror dawning on him. It's necrozma all over again, but worse. It's not stealing light to become whole. It's stealing light to kill everything else. The cold hit them instantly. The temperature plummeted. Snow began to fall on the tropical ocean. We lost, Nanu said, his cigarette falling from his mouth. Ash looked at the blackened sky. He looked at the kahunas, who were shivering, their Pokémon recalling themselves into their balls to survive the sudden freeze. No, Ash said. He clenched his fist. The Z-ring was cracked, but still holding. He looked toward the horizon, where the evacuation ships were fleeing toward Melee. We haven't lost, Ash said. We just know where the final battle is. He turned to Kukui. Professor, Ash said, his voice deadly calm. Get me a Solgaleo. Kukui looked at Ash. He saw a boy who had been beaten, tortured, frozen, and blasted. And yet, the fire in his eyes was brighter than the sun that had just been stolen. Solgaleo is in the ultra space, Kukui said. We can't reach him. Then we go get him, Ash said. We have the altar. We have the flute. And we have us. Ash turned. Hovering near the edge of the platform was the helicopter. The side door was open. Lillie, Mallow, and Lana were there. They hadn't left. Lana threw down a rope ladder. Get in, loser. Lana yelled, tears streaming down her face but grinning fiercely. We're going to punch the sun. Ash looked at them. He looked at the kahunas. Go, Hala nodded. We will defend the islands on the ground. You fight the sky. Ash grabbed Pikachu. He grabbed the ladder. As the helicopter pulled away from the sinking ether paradise, Ash climbed up. Lillie pulled him inside. He collapsed onto the floor of the cargo bay. Mallow immediately wrapped him in a blanket, and Lana pressed a hot water bottle, where did she get that, against his chest. I told you to leave, Ash whispered. We don't take orders from you, Lillie said, kissing his forehead. We're a democracy. And we voted to save the world. Ash looked out the window at the black sun and the dying world. Okay, Ash said. Let's go save the world. Chapter 8 End. The Alolan Ascendancy Chapter 9, The Bonds That Break the World. The silence of the end of the world was louder than any explosion. Alola, a region defined by its warmth and vibrant colors, was now a monochrome painting of gray ice and black sky. The ocean had frozen into a jagged tundra. The palm trees of Mallow were brittle statues of glass. The only light came from the fires burning in the cities below, where humans and Pokémon huddled together against the encroaching absolute zero. Ash stood on the steps of the altar of the sun. The ancient stone was coated in frost. His breath plumed in the air, freezing instantly into crystals on his eyelashes. It's cold, Mallow whispered. She was wrapping fresh bandages around Ash's ribs, her fingers stiff and clumsy. I've never felt cold like this. It's inside my chest. It's not just temperature, Lillie said, looking up at the sky. She held the moon flute in her hands, her knuckles white. The Void Eater isn't just blocking the sun. It's erasing it. It's consuming the concept of warmth. Above them, occupying the space where the sun should be, was the entity. It was a massive, pulsating eclipse, a hole in reality that bled purple vapor. It was silent, majestic, and terrifying. We have one shot, Ash said. He adjusted the obsidian Z-ring on his wrist. Kukui said the satellites are down. The world is panicking. If we don't bring the sun back in the next hour, the planet freezes. No pressure, Lana muttered, checking the seal on her rebreather mask. The air at this altitude was already too thin. Where they were going, there would be no air at all. Ash, Gladion called out. He was standing by the twin pillars, holding the sun flute. The altar, it's dead. It needs solar energy to activate the resonance. We can't summon Solgaleo without the sun, and the sun is being eaten. Ash walked to the center of the altar. He looked at the dead machinery of the ancients. We don't need the sun, Ash said softly. He closed his eyes. He thought of the fire. Not the destructive fire of a Charizard, but the warm, enduring fire of a hearth. The fire of determination. The fire that had burned in him since he left Pallet Town. Ash? Lillie stepped forward. What are you doing? I'm the spark, Ash whispered. He slammed his fist onto the central pedestal. Pikachu. Channel it. Everything we have. Pikachu leaped onto the pedestal, grabbing Ash's arm. Ash didn't use a move. He pushed his aura into the stone. He poured his life force, his memories, his sheer refusal to give up into the ancient circuitry. Blue light exploded from his body. It mixed with Pikachu's yellow electricity. The altar groaned. The frost on the stones hissed and evaporated. The glyphs began to glow, faintly at first, then blindingly bright. He's jump-starting a divine machine with his own soul, Gladion breathed, shielding his eyes. He's insane. Play the flutes. Ash roared, his voice distorted by the energy output. Now. Lillie and Gladion didn't hesitate. They raised the ancient instruments to their lips. The melody was haunting, a duet of sorrow and hope that cut through the howling wind. The pillars of the altar fired a beam of light into the ultra wormhole directly above them. The sky tore open. Roar. It wasn't one roar. It was two. From the rift, a lion of white steel and sunlight descended, its mane burning with the fury of 1,000 stars. Solgaleo. And beside it, a bat-like entity of skeletal grace and violet light, its wings shimmering like the night sky. Lunala. Nebi. Lillie cried out, dropping the flute. Solgaleo landed, shaking the mountain. It looked at Lillie, then at Ash. Its eyes were burning with recognition and rage. It saw the blackened sky. It saw the thief stealing its domain. You called, Solgaleo's voice echoed in their minds. It was heavy, like shifting tectonic plates. The devourer must burn. Lunala shrieked, landing beside the girls. It lowered its wing, offering a ramp. The Mother Moon answers, Lunala projected, its voice silken and cold. We fight as one. Ash stumbled, the blue glow fading from his skin. He nearly fell, but Solgaleo caught him with a nudge of its massive head. Thanks, buddy, Ash wheezed, patting the metal mane. He climbed onto Solgaleo's back. He looked down at the girls. This is it, Ash said. Once we go up there, there's no air. No gravity. Just the void. We know, Lana said, climbing onto Lunala's back. She pulled Mallow up behind her. Lillie walked to Lunala. She paused, looking at Gladion. Coming? Lillie asked. Gladion shook his head. He drew his Silvalee's pokeball. Someone has to guard the altar. If the connection breaks, you get stranded in the void. I'll hold the ground. Lillie nodded. Stay safe, brother. She climbed onto Lunala, sitting behind Mallow, sandwiching the cook between the warrior and the tactician. Ash looked across the gap between the two legendaries. He locked eyes with Lillie. See you at the finish line, Ash grinned. It was the old grin. The one that said he didn't know how to lose. Don't be late, Lillie smiled back, though her eyes were wet. Solgaleo. Ascend. Lunala. Fly. The two legendaries launched. They didn't fly like birds, they defied physics. They became streaks of light, one gold, one violet, shooting straight up into the black throat of the sky. The stratosphere the cold was absolute. The atmospheric shields of the legendaries protected them from the vacuum, creating bubbles of breathable air, but the chill seeped through. Below them, the earth was a marble of white and gray. Above them, the Void Eater grew larger with every second. It was colossal. Up close, it wasn't just a monster, it was a landscape. Its scales were the size of cities. Its mouth was a canyon of teeth. It sees us. Lana yelled, pointing. The Void Eater didn't roar. It simply unleashed a wave of silence. A pulse of purple anti-energy swept toward them. Solgaleo. Sunsteel strike. Ash commanded. Solgaleo became a comet. It smashed through the energy wave, carving a tunnel of light. Lunala. Moongeist beam. Lillie ordered. Lunala fired a beam of spectral energy that swirled around Solgaleo, widening the tunnel, protecting Ash's flanks from the closing darkness. They breached the Void Eater's outer perimeter. They were now flying inside the entity's aura. The world dissolved. The nightmare realm suddenly, Ash wasn't on Solgaleo. He was standing in Pallet Town. But the houses were burning. Ash? He turned. Delia Ketchum stood there. But she had no face. Just a smooth, black surface. You left us, his mother's voice said. You always leave. You run to the next region. You run to the next battle. You don't love us. You love the adrenaline. No, Ash whispered. That's not true. The scene shifted. He was back at the league. But the stadium was empty. Just him. "You are a weapon," a voice said. It was Hideo. "A weapon has no family. A weapon has no wife. You will break them, Ash. Just like you break everything else." Ash fell to his knees. The doubt, the guilt he suppressed for years, rose up like bile. Am I just chaos? Do I just hurt people? Ash. The voice wasn't his mother. It wasn't Hideo. It was Mallow. "Ash, listen to me. It's in your head." Ash looked up. The burning pallet town flickered. "The stew." Mallow's voice rang clear in his mind. "Remember the stew. It was spicy. You laughed. That was real. This is fake." The flames turned into flower petals. "Get up, Ash Ketchum." Lana's voice cut through the darkness like a blade. "You promised to take me fishing. You don't break promises." The empty stadium shattered like glass. "We are right here," Lillie's voice was a warm blanket. "You aren't alone. You aren't a weapon. You are the man who held my hand when I was afraid to touch a Pokémon. You are the man we chose." Ash gasped, his eyes snapping open. He was back on Solgaleo. The Void Eater's psychic attack had tried to sever his connection to reality. "You guys." Ash breathed, clutching Solgaleo's mane. He looked over at Lana. The girls were clutching their heads, shaking. They were fighting their own nightmares. Ash reached out. Not with his hand, but with his heart. "I got you," Ash projected. "Lillie, you are brave. Mallow, you are vital. Lana, you are strong." He felt them snap out of it, one by one. The psychic link between the four of them solidified. It wasn't just telepathy, it was a four-way conduit of soul. "It tried to make me watch you die." Lillie screamed across the void, her eyes blazing with fury. "It made a mistake. It made it personal." Mallow yelled. The Void Eater shrieked. It realized its psychological warfare had failed. The bond was too elastic, it stretched, but it snapped back harder. "Let's end this." Ash roared. The core of the void, they dove toward the center of the entity, the stolen sun. It was trapped in a cage of obsidian ribs, a sphere of blinding red light struggling against the purple dark. "We have to break the cage." Ash shouted. "It's regenerating too fast." Lana observed. "Lunala's attacks are bouncing off. We need to hit it with everything at once." Lillie said. "A resonance chain." Ash. Mallow called out. "We'll clear the path. You take the shot. I need an opening." Ash yelled back. "We'll make one." Lillie, Mallow, and Lana shared a look. They raised their Z-rings. They didn't have specific Z-crystals for this combined attack. They just had the raw power of the Alola moonlight channeled through Lunala. "Lunala!" Lillie commanded. Menacing moonrays maelstrom. Lunala shrieked. It didn't just fire a beam, it opened its wings and summoned a vortex of phantom singularities. The attack slammed into the obsidian ribs of the Void Eater. The ribs cracked. "Now, Mallow." Lana. Mallow threw a seed, a miracle seed she had kept since her trial. "Serena. Help Lunala." Solar Blade. Lana threw her mystic water. Primarina. Hydro Cannon. Even in the vacuum, the energy manifested. The attacks merged with Lunala's vortex. The combined assault shattered the outer defense of the Void Eater. The path to the stolen sun was open. But the Void Eater wasn't done. A massive, shadowy hand materialized, grabbing Solgaleo. It squeezed. Solgaleo roared in pain. The metal of its body began to buckle. "Solgaleo. Ash cried. He felt the legendary's pain. You want light? Ash growled. He stood up on the back of the trapped lion. He ripped his hat off. He threw it into the void. Pikachu. Pikachu climbed onto Ash's shoulder. We don't need a Z-move, Ash whispered. We need to be the Z-move. He grabbed the Pikachunium Z. But he didn't just activate it. He crushed it in his hand. The crystal dust sparkled. Ash inhaled the energy. His aura flared. But this time, it wasn't blue. It was gold. Pure, blinding gold. He became a conduit for the light of Alola. Ash. No. Lillie's voice screamed in his head. Your body can't take that. It has to. Ash replied. Together, remember. He reached out his hand toward the girls on Lana. I need you. All of you. Anchor me. Lillie, Mallow, and Lana didn't hesitate. They reached out. Across the vacuum of space, their spirits linked with his. Lillie gave him her precision, Mallow gave him her endurance, Lana gave him her flow. Ash stabilized. The gold light stopped burning him and started singing. Solgaleo. Break free. Empowered by Ash's surge, Solgaleo shattered the shadow hand. Pikachu. 10 million volt thunderbolt. Solgaleo. Searing sunrays smash. Ash and Solgaleo merged into a single projectile of absolute radiance. Pikachu was the tip of the spear. They flew into the hole the girls had made. They struck the stolen sun. The Big Bang. There was no sound. Only white. The Void Eater didn't scream. It simply ceased to exist. The light didn't just burn it, it overrode its existence. The darkness was deleted. The explosion of light swept outward. It hit the moon. It hit the earth. On the ground, the ice stopped spreading, the frost on the altar melted instantly, the palm trees of Melee thawed. The sun was free. The fall high in the upper atmosphere, the light faded. Solgaleo and Lana were exhausted. Their forms flickered, reverting to their dormant states, nebby, cosmic, and a small cosmic-like core. They began to fall. Ash was falling. He was unconscious, his clothes burned away, his skin glowing with fading embers of power. He tumbled through the sky like a ragdoll. Lillie, Mallow, and Lana were falling too, but they were conscious. They had summoned their flying mounts, Altaria, Lillie, Flygon, Mallow, and Dragonair, Lana, mid-air as Lana vanished. Ash. Lillie Dove. Her Altaria folded its wings, becoming a bullet. She saw him. He was spinning. Faster. Lillie screamed. Mallow and Lana were flanking her, using their Pokémon to break the wind resistance, creating a slipstream for Lillie. I got him. I got him. Lillie reached out. Her fingers brushed Ash's hand. She grabbed him. The momentum jerked her arm, nearly dislocating her shoulder, but she didn't let go. She pulled him onto Altaria's back. He's not breathing. Lillie cried, pressing her ear to his chest. Get him to the ground. Lana yelled. Mount Lanakila. Now. They banked, descending toward the summit. The summit, resurrection. They landed on the altar. It was warm now. The sun was shining, a beautiful, golden afternoon sun. Lillie laid Ash on the stone slab. He looked peaceful. Too peaceful. His heart had stopped. The strain of channeling the sun had burned out his bioelectricity. No, Mallow sobbed, falling to her knees. No, no, no. You don't get to save the world and die, Ash Ketchum. That's a cliché. I hate clichés. Clear the way, Lana said. Her voice was terrifyingly calm. She placed her hands on Ash's chest. She looked at Pikachu, who was weak but awake, nudging Ash's cheek. Pikachu, Lana said. I need a jump start. Just a spark. Can you do it? Pikachu. Pikachu placed his tail on Ash's heart. Now, Lana pressed down. CPR. 1. 2. 3. Clear. Pikachu released a jolt. Ash's body convulsed. Nothing. Again. Lillie ordered, holding Ash's hand so tight her nails drew blood. Come back to us, Ash. You promised. You said yes. 1. 2. 3. Clear. ZZZZT. Nothing. Mallow placed her hands over Lana's. Lillie placed hers on Ash's forehead. Please, Lillie whispered. Please. They poured everything they had left into him. Not aura. Not Z-power. Just love. Pure, stubborn, selfish love. Thump. Lana froze. Thump thump. Ash gasped. It was a hideous, ragged sound, like a drowning man breaking the surface. He arched his back, sucking in air. Ash. He coughed, his eyes fluttering open. They were brown again. Warm, confused, human brown. He looked up. He saw the blue sky. He saw the sun. Then he saw the three faces hovering over him, blocking out the sun. They were crying. They were messy. They were beautiful. Hey, Ash rasped. His voice was a wreck. You jerk. Mallow screamed, and buried her face in his neck. Lana let out a long, shuddering breath and rested her forehead on his chest. I was going to kill you. I was literally going to kill you. Lillie just kissed him. She kissed his burnt lips, his soot-stained cheek, his forehead. We won, Lillie whispered against his skin. Ash looked at the sky. The Void Eater was gone. The Directorate was broken. The world was spinning. He felt the weight of them on him. He felt their hearts beating against his. Yeah, Ash smiled, closing his eyes, letting the exhaustion finally take him. We won. Chapter 9 End.